The actual telephone conversation on July 17th lasted less than 5 minutes. After some awkward hellos, Scheinberg dispassionately went through his notes, praising minor changes before dropping the not so smart bomb on the old hall. He told Gilliam that the major problems hadn't been addressed and that what the film needed was a radical rethink. The film was too confusing for American audiences, and the tone was still too downbeat, and it definitely needed a different ending. I've told you from day one that the ending is not negotiable, Gilliam answered calmly. We can talk about other areas of the film, but not the end. That's why I made the movie. Gilliam went on to remind Scheinberg that Brazil had already received rave reviews in Europe, and that in fact, most of the people under Scheinberg at Universal loved it. It isn't fair, the director continued rationally, to ask me to sacrifice everything about this film that's important to me based on one man's opinion. But it wasn't just one man's opinion, it was the man's opinion. I appreciate your commitment to the film, Terry, but the truth is, it tested very poorly, and I would be irresponsible to release it without at least trying to improve it. Off screen, the rumbling and flashing of thunderclouds begin. On screen, Sid gets to what screenwriters call the point of attack. We're going to go ahead with the editing here, and when we've completed it, we'll screen both versions. Unless our version tests spectacularly better with audiences, we'll go with yours. We'd like to have you involved in this. As Scheinberg spoke, Gilliam smoldered. And when the executive ended his avuncular presentation, the director burst into flame. He was suddenly screaming into the telephone, burning an ear 6,000 miles away with the threat of war. Take the effing thing and do anything you want with it, Gilliam shrieked. Just take my name off it and put yours on. Sid Scheinberg's Brazil. It has a nice ring to it. Scheinberg had never had a filmmaker go off like that before. He prides himself in his ability to read people, to know when they're under emotional strain, but he missed all the cues in this case. As he battled to get the conversation under control, he'd realized it'd been a mistake to do it by phone in the first place. He should have asked Gilliam to fly to LA, where they could have talked it out face to face. But it was too late now. The rampaging voice at the other end of the cable was informing him he was in for the fight of his life. Finally, Scheinberg started throwing out sparks of his own, suggesting that Gilliam, if he thought his movie was so hot, why don't you buy it back? Since Universal likely had a stiff on its hands, Scheinberg further gambled the studio would gladly take a loss on its $9 million investment just to get rid of it, along with its director. Are you serious? Gilliam asked, stunned. Absolutely. Fine, then you'll hear from me. Hanging up, Gilliam instantly called Milchin to report the conversation, particularly Scheinberg's offer to sell the movie to them at a loss. If that were true, Gilliam posited, couldn't Milchin find another studio to pick up Brazil for a bargain price? In which, happy case, the film would go out with the director's complete version, and wonder of all wonders, it might be marketed by a film company not led by a boss in the habit of eating his own. But Milchin, an Israeli businessman who had amassed a fortune in the international agrochemical and aerospace industries, continued to counsel patience. Experience with fertilizer and rocket launchings have served for the producer well in the movie biz. For Gilliam, though, the run-in with Scheinberg was turning into the greatest irony of all. He'd taken his most cynical views on bureaucracy in the 20th century and exercised them all into a satirical fantasy about the myth of individual freedom, apparently only to serve it up to a self-fulfilling, self-destructive professional and personal prophecy. The difference between fiction and reality here, however, between Terry Gilliam and his character Sam Lowry, was that when Sam Lowry went mad, Terry Gilliam went for the throat. Had Gilliam quit, like Lowry when faced with his torturers in the film, after the dust-up on the phone with Scheinberg, the Brazil saga would have been a case of life imitating art imitating life. But after decades of taunting authority figures, Monty Python's madcap director of animated mayhem was just sharpening up his own medieval instruments. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you guys walk in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. My name is Thomas Hunt. Today is Sunday, February 28th. And I was just reading a little bit there from The Battle of Brazil by Jack Matthews. This book's out of print, so you're not going to be able to get it on your fancy e-readers. This is the battle of Universal Pictures versus Terry Gilliam, the fight to the final cut. So pretty interesting section there about the studio executive telling Terry Gilliam they're not going to release his movie the way he wants them to. And Terry Gilliam telling them they can go F themselves. For those of you who haven't seen the film, there are 2 or maybe 3 different versions. The Gilliam version's probably out there nowadays. But in the old days, there's a version called the Love Conquers All version, where in the end of the film, spoiler alert, love conquers all. You could see why the studio would want to do that. It's a very dark film of Brazil, kind of a 1984 of a movie. You might not even have heard of it. It's popular where I come from, but I hang out with all the film geeks, so everything's pretty popular there. We seem to be live. People are calling me on the phone during the show. It's always useful. Check out the price of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is down 8.13% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 43,334, a high of 47,610, and a low of 43,175. That's $1 for 2,307 Satoshis. Volume was at 12,531 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean long, with 92% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 80%. Going to go ahead and try to load the chat here. Let's see if I can load. Sunday is Big Book Day. This is a good time to give us a thumbs up and a share if you're watching us. I know you're all wondering, what is the big book? This book is so big, I've had to set up a second camera. So there are going to be a lot of technical what have yous and some of that business here. But we're saying hello to the chat. Hi, chat. Welcome to Big Book Day. And after that, we're going to go check out Clubhouse. Also, we're probably going to need some co-hosts. We're going to need a lot of support here because I haven't really even had breakfast. I had some breakfast, but not enough breakfast. Anyway, it's Sunday. It's a big day in the Bitcoin world. And here we go over to camera 2, Big Book Day. There it is. You can even see the small book, the Battle of Brazil in there. Let's go ahead and talk to the producer. Let's see. People are talking to me on the phone. All right. Let's see. We can remove the virtual background, please. Man in the booth. All right. And remove the green screen option. Oh, we got some scrolling. But there we go. So here's a normal size book. This is the Battle of Brazil. It's a trade paperback. So actually a nice size book, probably because they included the complete screenplay, director's cut. No Love Conquers All. But what is that below it? What is that taking up the entire table, refusing to even stay in frame? It's Saturday Night Live, the book. It's Saturday Night Live, the book. I'm going to open it. I was hoping I would open it to John Belushi's butt. But here we go. We've got some of the Wayne's World guys. Looks like Barbara Streisand is on Coffee Talk there. And it's just another fantastic, magnificent 35-pound book about Saturday Night Live. For those of you who are into large books, this is a Taschen book. I think in German, Taschen means table, something like that. But anyway, a table, probably coffee table, if I had to guess. Cafe, Taschen. And they also made the Muhammad Ali book, which is the largest book that I own, and I think the largest book ever made. Look, you can see him making the tower of cereal for Colin Blow, one of the great fake commercials on Saturday Night Live. Hey, shout out to Tune In, Drop Out, $25 donation. Thanks so much, man. Actually, this book, I buy used books. I wait till the price comes down. This book only costs $30. So hey, I'm almost in the black here. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in. I don't know if anybody likes Big Book Day, but I set up a second camera to try to really capture the size of this book. What I like about it so far is it's full of kind of like behind the scene photos and things that I've never seen about Saturday Night Live. So it doesn't seem like it's very essay heavy like the Muhammad Ali book. It has a couple essays, it has a couple of stories, but it seems like it's very heavy on the behind the scenes photos. So you really get a neat idea. And to have a show like Saturday Night Live that's been on the air, age myself horribly in, I don't know, 50 years, how long it's been. But they have pictures from each different era. So you can see, you know, the early eras, the 70s, the 80s, the cheapness of everything, the 90s, they start to get some money. I mean, the aughts, as well as the level of stars and guest stars. Look, there's a Conehead talking on the phone. That's fun. So this is Big Book Day, and this is certainly a big book. I also want you to note right here on the spine, this big book has 3, can't see with my giant hands, you have 3 bookmarks. What a great book. Taschen, what a classy company. 3 built-in bookmarks. What a cool big book. Oh, Robin, man. Robin Williams. That's the best right there. Oh, Quentin Tarantino. Say I'm not going to top Robin, but then Quentin. Wow. Also interesting to have some of the art here. Here they have more like information on each individual show. They have a layout of which sketches they did, how they boarded it out, how the system was set up, and information like that. It's also neat to see stuff like, well, there's some great, these are the ending shots. That's a nice end panel for the book. Also great to see things like the makeup artists and so forth running in and out, and they've captured some pictures of that as well. So just a really nice, really well done. They kind of printed it on, I don't know, less expensive paper, so I wasn't too into it at first. I'd said no to this book in the past, but you know how it is. Once you get a book in your head from a bookstore, it just follows you around on the Amazon, and eventually it dropped in price. I'm always worried how they're going to ship a book like this. This is a 30-pound object. It got a little ding in the corner, but it might have had that before. This is the book page I have bookmarked. It's all the great Saturday Night Live parody commercials from the 80s, so, and the 90s too. So great stuff there. Saturday Night Live, can't get enough. At least Weekend Update in the opening sketch and the political ones. Not so, the other ones, I don't know, not so much, but every once in a while they hit a home run. And certainly Taschen did with this magnificent, voluminous book here. This is the 30-pound Saturday Night Live book. It dwarfs normal books. Oh, smash the laptop. It destroys technology. It's an amazing book, and what a deal. As it says on the back, let's see if there's a way that we could both read it together. Maybe. This is the story of the most remarkable show on television. This is a celebration of all the humor it has brought into the world and of the people who have made that happen. This is the book of Saturday Night Live. So there you go. Big Book Day accomplished. Small book also included, but let's not distract from the beauty of the big book. I also said we'd go check out Clubhouse. Let's see what's going on over there. We're going to turn up the audio and switch several of the cameras. There's me. Let's see. System fail. It's all right. We have ways of fixing the green screen. Yes. Let's see. Total spoilers, though. It's a natural background. It's not a green screen. All right. Green screen fixed. Let's go out and let's check out the Clubhouse. So first we've got to set up our own room here on the Clubhouse. And we've got to have a topic. So let's put that big red dot there. And let's say live Bitcoin talk show. Drop by and say hello. All right, that sounds friendly. All right, we've started our Bitcoin talk show. Now we need to see if anyone's online. Let's see. Demore was online. Hey, it's Michael Dupree. How's it going?
Clubhouse.
Mr. Mike, welcome to the Clubhouse.
Beep. Recording enabled. This shit sucks.
It's pretty fun. We are live on the internet and we are live on Clubhouse. We can add anyone we want to this room and suddenly they'll all be live.
But there's no one listening.
There are 17 people watching us on YouTube. And there are probably some more on Twitter, and it'll last forever on the YouTube archive. So the price of Bitcoin is $43,444. What do you think, Mike? Going up or going down?
I don't know, man. Like, this thing says that their notifications are all off. I have to message them to add any of my friends.
Oh, my really good friend Margot is in the room. Hello, Margot.
All right, let's try to add Margot up to the stage here. And also, let's go for one at a time.
Hi, everyone. Hey, sorry, I was trying to rest on the music because I'm in the gym right now. I don't want you to hear weird noises.
It's okay. I'm in the gym also. I'm pumping iron right now.
Pleasure meeting you all. I'm so new to Bitcoin, but I'm glad to participate.
Love you, babe. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I'm coming to Barcelona Tuesday.
Okay, talk later somewhere else about it.
Welcome to Clubhouse, Margot. Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Oh shit, Sam Alter joined. Put him on the speakers chat here.
All right, we're inviting Sam up to the stage.
Sam Alter, welcome to the stage. Turn your shit off.
It does seem to be a bit of an echo. And welcome 4EST to the show. What's your name? Where are you from? How's it going, man?
Oh, man. Hi, I'm Boris from California.
All right, California in the house. It's nice and sunny where I am.
Long time listener, first time speaker.
Classic. That's what they say on all the Simpsons. So I don't know. What do you think? Is Bitcoin going up or going down?
Well, you know, according to Tone Days and Willie, it's 41,075. So I'm gonna bet the house.
Well, I love that magic when it works, and I worry when it doesn't work. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared, but I don't want to sell under like 60,000. I have someone that wants to buy from me really bad, but I keep trying to put them off because I don't know. It seems undervalued right now.
Well, it's always good to sell like just a small percentage, like 10% or 5%. It's always good to get a little taste. I'm kind of kicking myself. I didn't have any cool sells in the 50s, but maybe it'll come again. Maybe there'll be another chance. But it's always tough to tell when it's reached up over the top and starts going back down. None of these None of these new people are prepared for that. They haven't lived through the nightmares, and who knows if they're going to stick with us. But it definitely goes up as much as it goes down sometimes. So
for sure, I've been scared about all the people that have been jumping in at like 50K or 45K, and I'm like, oh man, I've been in this rodeo before. Be careful.
Well, and it's the same thing. Your friends call, everybody calls. They're all very excited and happy for you, and then they want to buy. And you told them to buy for years and years at all kinds of much better prices, and they haven't. But now that it's 50K, they're in. What do you tell them? Do you think you can just tell them to buy?
So what I always say there is, we're at all-time highs. That means that Bitcoin has never ever been this high before. And in all the time that I've been watching Bitcoin, the very next thing that happens after all-time high is an all-time crash. And so we're very likely to go back, to the level that you were looking at it before this price increase. So,
well, the time to buy is when there's blood in the water, right? You don't want to be buying. Everybody's very happy around here. They have their laser eyes on. Sorry, no offense, but yeah, they're very happy, and that's maybe not the time to buy. But when all the laser eyes disappear and everyone thinks it was a mistake and they all go back to normal, that's when you buy. When the media is not covering it, when they're not writing articles about Bitcoin all-time high and everybody's into Bitcoin, when it's not interesting, when they like coming up, it's hard to think of really negative events that we have left for Bitcoin. I always thought Mt. Gox was going to go down. That was something kind of new was going to happen. I'm sure a lot of people didn't know, and a lot of large accounts couldn't move their money account out of there. But a small account like mine headed for the hills pretty quickly there. It always seemed, even just code-wise, it just felt unstable, like an unsafe PHP platform. But nowadays, we don't have as many easy to say bad events out there in Bitcoin. I mean, China could ban Bitcoin again, but they do that every year. India's working on banning Bitcoin, but they never really had that comfier relationship with Bitcoin yet. So it's like losing something you never had. It's not that bad. But yeah, and then there's positive news. I mean, the American ETF seems like it's a shoe-in after the Canadian ETF did so well. And all these companies are into it. I mean, it seems like these companies could change their mind, but that most of them seem like they have a long-term investment strategy. The nice thing about Tesla or MicroStrategies is, unlike someone like myself or whatever, they don't have to sell for rent. Tesla's just rolling on, and they actually have a business. They make money and so forth, so they can cover the rent on the Gigafactory. But there's a chance in the future, I guess, a negative board could take over those places, or the Bitcoin price could go down and those people could have to sell. That's a negative event. But what do you think? Let's go down the panel here. For EST, what kind of negative event could you think that's out there for Bitcoin?
I kind of worry that if we actually really get hyper Bitcoinization, that the American government might kind of crack down, and like they could just say like it's illegal to transact in Bitcoin. And I don't know if they could do that to like Elon and Michael Saylor and everyone else, but I mean we might just be taking the power right out of their hands soon.
I love it. The classic U.S. government bans Bitcoin, U.S. government crackdown. One of the other ones we talked about recently on the Bitcoin group was the idea that not only could the government now tax these companies as polluters. You say, hey, Tesla, you may be an energy clean car company, get all this stuff. We're going to tax you as a polluter because you hold Bitcoin on your balance sheets, and maybe a retroactive tax. I don't think you can do retroactive laws for normal people, but I think you can for corporations. And I think you also can as a punishment for pollution. You can say that you've been holding Bitcoin for X number of years and we're going to punish you for that pollution. That could be another negative thing to take down Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and add Evan up here if Evan would like to speak. We're just chatting generally about Bitcoin. It's Sunday. We are also live, so keep that in mind. But as with every room here on the Clubhouse, let's not get confused. Everything's being recorded, right? Everything's being recorded by this company or by one of the participants here or something like that. So don't go reading your credit card information out into the Clubhouse just because it seems real friendly.
Hey guys, I have a question for you.
All
Can you
right,
hear
go
me
ahead.
still?
Sure.
So, based on your last kind of remarks about the future of the Bitcoin, do you really think that the future of a Bitcoin is rather negative, or would you have a chance to make it like a currency of a global nation?
Well, long term, I always think the future of Bitcoin's positive. So I always tell people, and again, it's hard to do this yourself, but keep your job and dollar cost average. So you just set up this computer program. It buys like $100 worth of Bitcoin for you every month, or $1,000, or whatever you're comfortable with, and just do that for years and years. Because I think long term, Bitcoin's really interesting. It's really useful, and that there's also really rare. And those three things will cause the price to go up. Right now, what we're kind of saying is that it's tough to know about the price because it is at an all-time high. So Bitcoin's been around for like 10 years maybe, and it's never been this high before. So if you were brand new into Bitcoin just today, you found out about it, you're like, I want to go check that out. It's tough to say, sell your house, sell the wife, sell the kids, buy all the Bitcoin you can. But I think it's always easy to say, set up one of these programs and you can do $10 a month. You don't have to make it small so you don't have to look at it, and then try not to look at it. The problem with so many new Bitcoiners, and certainly I was this way, is that once you get into Bitcoin, you just start watching the price all the time. And Bitcoin's not like stock markets, like it never closes. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and you wonder how your $1,000 is doing, you can find out, and it can be up or it can be down, because there's all kinds of other traders all over the world, all actively trading this thing. And if they decide they like it or they don't like it, they could sell. And if they have large amounts of Bitcoin, they could move the market or start a trend. So it's pretty tough to say what to do when the price is so high right now. What do you think, Margola? Do you think you would buy some Bitcoin now, or what do you think about my plan to buy a little bit slowly?
Well, as I said before, I'm super new to that. I'm currently in an ownership of a single Bitcoin, but I met a girl on the weekend who just told me so easily, so carelessly, that she's making her pocket money, like for the weekend, out of the Bitcoin she's selling. And it hooked me. I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Why not? Because especially now I'm looking for new ways of investment, so I thought, why not Bitcoin? And so since Margarita's there, she will definitely be helping me from time to time. And I was just like, since I'm here, maybe you can share with me some valuable advice, or like how to start your venture.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, so maybe if allowed to ask, you can share with me a few initial steps. How should I start over?
Yeah, that sounds great. And I definitely think if you're hanging out with Margarita, you might try the Bitcoin ATMs. Get a little plug there for EasyBit. Yeah, to start out with
for
Bitcoin.
sure, but there's not one in Spain. I'm not sure about Paris. You gotta figure that out. But I guess there are many other Bitcoin ATMs in Paris that you can try out, or just do it online or through the exchanges, like most of the people do. So
yeah, doing it online with an exchange is probably the easiest. You set up something like Cash App or Coinbase, and it's just like anything else. You kind of link your bank accounts and maybe take a picture of your driver's license, that kind of thing. It's like a real bank account. And, definitely if you make money off this, you should pay taxes on it. There are people that try not to, but we always tell people just, pay your fair share. You make money, pay the taxes. Not that bad. And so it's good to have it in a nice account like that, because you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay the taxes or whatever. It's kind of, you can do it through that company. But that's not real Bitcoin. Sometimes you can't even send it around, like if you bought it through PayPal. But that's a nice way to get to try it out, at least as a financial gamble, and it's also those places that have these easy to use dollar cost averaging, where you can just buy like $10 a month or $100 a month, and you can just set it up, and it's just like a subscription. So from a financial perspective, if you want to make money on Bitcoin or try to make money on Bitcoin, not financial advice here, but yeah, setting up one of those dollar cost averaging things with Coinbase.com or PayPal or Cash App on your phone. Getting that set up was like the first kind of financial taste to it, but the actual using it and actually getting involved in Bitcoin, you want to get some and get it in a wallet. And so you get a wallet on your phone and you can send it around, and you can send around the Lightning Network. And the thing to focus on now, and it seems really tough for people because everyone wants the big gains and they all wish they bought it 5 years ago, and they imagine that they would have just held it the whole time like it was so easy. But the thing to do now is
I imagine every day that.
Yeah, every day. It would be so easy. And I multiply by this and it would have been how much I'd have. But yeah, I know everyone I know sold at the wrong times and all kinds of problems. But the way to really to win, to get involved in this, is to take the things that you already do and the things you already do for money and that you already like to do as a hobby, and figure out how you can accept Bitcoin for that work. And once you do that, now you're earning Bitcoin. And maybe like if you, let's say you were like a yoga teacher or something, well, maybe only one of your students will pay you in Bitcoin. And that's fine. Like most people don't want to use this, but if you could get that one, this way you're earning a little Bitcoin on the side and you're saving it, and you can store it however you want. You can learn more about hardware wallets and all kinds of things. But the basic idea is, yeah, just get started on Coinbase. Try to do the dollar cost averaging, which means if the price of Bitcoin is up, you buy $10 a month. And if the price of Bitcoin is down, you buy $10 a month. And by buying this $10 a month, at the end of the year, you're going to have $120 in Bitcoin, right? But you're not. You're going to have based on the price. So if the price was level, you could get 10 a month. But if the price was down, you'd be getting more Bitcoin, right? And if the price was up, you'd be getting less Bitcoin. But by buying this at a monthly thing, and I especially like the idea of like $10, something that you're not going to notice, which again, you're not going to win big money if you don't gamble big money, but you're also not going to lose big money. So there's something nice about that, and you wouldn't have to look at it all the time. But yeah, setting up that financial link. And then the second part would be just learning more about it, trying it, and trying to accept it for a thing that you already do or your hobby or something like that. What do you think about that?
Wow, super helpful. I like that part about making it like my everyday life reality right now. But I was wondering, is it really big right now as everyone talks about it, that you can literally use it for your yoga teacher? Because for me, it's quite surreal to come to my Parisian, super snobbish yoga studio and say, hey guys, use the Bitcoin. Is that common?
It's getting pretty common. And again, if you want to like to bring it into your life, is to kind of become a promoter of it. So you would want to learn more about it and how it's like deflationary and it's not controlled by any government or corporation. It's a bunch of computers working together, and how everyone has an interest of keeping the network going and all that kind of stuff. But if you read that stuff and you like that stuff, then it would be okay to say to these people, hey, check it out. In the old days, and by old days, I mean 5 years ago, but 5 years ago, you say you're into Bitcoin and everyone says, oh, you must be into drugs and you must be into Silk Road, because there's this big website that sold drugs for Bitcoin. And it wasn't so much Bitcoin's fault. It was just that you can sell anything for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's really useful for people that want to sell things. But yeah, everyone would say that to you. Now, I mean, it's tough to get people to kind of spend it because they don't realize you could just buy more. So if you spend like $100 in Bitcoin, you're supposed to just buy the $100 back. Like if you have a job and you have money coming in and everything. So,
I mean, really the best way to earn Bitcoin would just be simply to try to find a job where someone in Bitcoin pays you. And you'd be surprised to find that there's lots of people around the world that would pay top dollar in Bitcoin for good talent. So, I mean, like we need to get out of this, like, convert your income into Bitcoin and into, like, make your income in Bitcoin and save some. But I'm not saying you're wrong, Thomas. I completely agree with you. Let's try to get some more people in here, man. I tried to invite some more people, but can you put them all on the stage when they get in? Because a couple people joined and they wouldn't stay. And then Margarita had a huge echo.
Well, I'll add people as they stay, but
I'm not having echo. I'm muting.
Their attention span's got to be more than 30 seconds or something. But Yeah, we're welcome to have more people to chat. And I agree with what Mike said. It's kind of a way of reversing it there, where you go out and you find a Bitcoin company that's already paying in Bitcoin. So that would make it a lot easier.
Or you use BitWage and have them convert it for you. But I mean, there's no reason you should be paid in actual fiat anymore. Like, who would want that even for a day?
I kind of think of Bitcoin as like a savings account where you can get some of your pay in Bitcoin and you can store some of your money in there by dollar cost averaging and just try to get more of it. And then someday, 5 years from now or something, you look at it.
For fun, Thomas, I wouldn't ever analogize it to a traditional savings account where you get a small percentage of interest where they can lend out your money. Remember that your Bitcoin is still historically going to grow in value, and that there is no bank or a third party that's going to be able to take advantage of your money with them. So, I mean, like, if you look at all these banks in America, they're all fractional reserve and stuff like that. You put $10,000 in your savings account, and they can lend out $30,000 from that. With Bitcoin, that doesn't happen.
But if we deposit the Bitcoin in the banks, then they'll just fractionally reserve that.
Which is why we need to not do that. Bitcoin, in my opinion, it's not a transactional unit. It's not something that I'm going to go to like Starbucks and buy my fancy $5 coffee for my girlfriend because she wants that. And my girlfriend actually doesn't like Starbucks, but it just as a point. In general, it's not about being able to spend Bitcoin at places. It's about being able to store your assets and your value in Bitcoin, which is a non-debt based and a non-inflationary currency where it's actually becoming worth more and more, and it's a solid set amount. So I love the idea of taking some of your profit and putting it into Bitcoin, but really the better way to do it is use BitWage or these other people and get your money in Bitcoin and then convert the little bit that you need to survive into spendable fiat. I don't know if they're better words.
I've been getting really interested in a Bitcoin Roth IRA. I think we can put in like $5,500 per year, which works out to almost about $500 per month, which is probably.
You sound like my dad. He was a big corporate guy for a long time, as a lawyer, that kind of stuff, and he's like, Mike, Fidelity, you can buy, Bitcoin or other things with. I don't know how these 401ks work exactly, but it's like tax deferment or something. It's not like, and you don't have full control. So go ahead if you know better about it than me, but it doesn't sound that super interesting to me.
So part of what you're saying is right. There's different ways that it can work. And certainly if you're getting it in Fidelity, that's the same as like PayPal, right? You're not getting the Bitcoin and you can never withdraw it. You're just getting exposure to the price. But what I specifically mean is,
well, it's not the same as PayPal, because with Fidelity, you can invest in your 401k. You can buy like the ETF that tracks Bitcoin. And it's a little bit different than like, all right, I have to be honest, I don't trust a fucking thing that PayPal does. So let's just start there. If we're talking about serious anything, I started my first business when I was 16 years old or something, 15 years old, and PayPal screwed me then. And then when I turned 18, they wrote me a legal letter saying that I owed hundreds of dollars from when I was 15 and 16 years old. So I don't know that PayPal is a serious actual anything, but Fidelity is a serious brokerage. And with this ETF, if you can put that in your 401k, that's substantial in my opinion. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but do you understand what I mean?
I do. Specifically, I'm not really interested in that because I'm so heavy on Bitcoin investment anyways that I feel like my 401k stuff is a hedge. So I don't really want to touch that, but I just want to additionally have a self-funded or hosted whatever Bitcoin Roth IRA. And that way you pay for it out of your paycheck. So it's after taxes. You've already paid income taxes. And then if you put it into this Roth IRA and save it there until you're 60, you don't pay taxes when you come out. And we know that like 20 years, from now.
So you pay the tax on the way in a discounted rate, and then whenever Bitcoin's $10 million and we're all 60 years old, we can get it, but tax free, but it's worth 100 times more.
That's the dream. That's what I'm trying to capture.
I don't know, man. So my thoughts are that people putting a small percentage of Bitcoin into like an IRA or these 401ks, whatever it is, that's not a bad thing. You should have a small mixture of all sorts of assets in your retirement account. But I think that in general, we're a lot of self-employed people in the Bitcoin space, and I'm really not sure that doing the self-employed IRA thing really actually, I mean, it is a nice protection. I think the limit that you can get deferred is like 50 grand a year of tax. So, I mean, like, if you're doing well in crypto, there's no reason not to throw that 50 grand a year in there just in case. But I really don't know that that's the best way. I don't know if you know what I mean. I don't know if you know what I mean.
I don't know either, but that's my investigation for this year. That's what I really want to figure out is how do I set up a Bitcoin Roth IRA so that I don't pay taxes later when I pull it out.
My issue is less. I'm fine paying taxes on gains and on profits. I pay a lot of tax. I have no issue with that. My problem is now they want us to start like specifying out each individual trade and all this kind of stuff on our tax forms. And it's like, you know, like in 2018 or whatever, it was real simple. Like, didn't matter if I made 50,000 Bitcoin trades that year. I had a loss and a gain, and that's what I declared and paid tax on. And now they're asking that we start to outline all this stuff. And it's just absolutely nuts. And the reality is that I don't know that an IRA or something would make any of the bookkeeping factor easier, which might be the precluding factor for most people to actually hold cryptocurrency. If you only want to hold 10% of your assets or 1% of your assets in crypto, but it requires 50% of your bookkeeper's time, is it worth it?
Well, one option with the IRA is that you're really just holding the stock. Like you would hold the GBTC, or you could hold MicroStrategy. They have a lot of Bitcoin. Or some people say holding Tesla is just like holding Bitcoin now. So in that way, you wouldn't move it in and out of the market as much. Well, it's been an exciting ride so far. Even now,
I love Elon, but I'm just so unsure on.
There's a possibility that GM or somebody comes through with a nice electric car that they can mass produce through normal channels, and Tesla is just a speed bump in the road.
I guess, but I don't know, man. Elon never ceases to amaze me. Did you guys see that? Like front page today, big newspapers were about Elon being investigated by the SEC over Dogecoin, and that potentially it was a conflict of interest and stuff somehow with the spaceships and the cars. But I mean, just let's be real clear. In the crypto space, man, welcome to the space, Elon. You want to play games like that? There's been much smaller people before you who got in trouble. I mean, the SEC is not playing games with crypto stuff.
Definitely not. And I think Elon might have thought it was funny because it was Dogecoin and that he could joke without the SEC. As remember, last time he got in lots of trouble for tweeting about taking Tesla private, and they made it so he's no longer the chairman of the board or something. He's lost some of his power. So that could happen again. I just think it'll be hilarious that Dogecoin will be in court and that we'll have a court case about Dogecoin.
It won't be in court. The SEC holds private hearings, and it's all very complicated, but it's not about Dogecoin at all. It's about far bigger things and could cost them billions of dollars. So let's remember the reality here. He's probably not going to lose.
Certainly got lots of lawyers. Let's see, for EST, what do you think about Elon Musk? Dogecoin, all of his promotions?
Well, Dogecoin was just a basic thing, man. They bought billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin and then publicly talked about it and tweeted about it and everything. And man, like, are they selling? Are they pumping and dumping it? You can't do this as an official of a SEC registered company. It's the same shit as like the rental starter people 10 years ago.
The MicroStrategies guy certainly seems to have no problem openly promoting Bitcoin over and over and over again. I even think he's got someone writing tweets for him.
But the problem is I don't think that he's directly representing investors' funds, or is he?
They've got quite a lot.
I think it's the opposite. Michael is that dude is representing people's funds, but Elon isn't. That's his own corporate treasury. Well,
that's my point. Is that Elon's making a mistake because he's playing with Tesla's funds, not with.
The part that I think is really interesting about that
I'm still new to this Clubhouse thing. This is my first Clubhouse chat. I actually hate it. I think it's ridiculous. I would much prefer IRC chat where we could all just like construct thoughts and write them out and have a discussion instead of talking. But go ahead.
Sorry if my audio is bad. What I think is really interesting about them, the corporate folks holding Bitcoin on their treasury, is that I heard that if the price of the Bitcoin goes down, they can take that as a loss, and then that will then in turn sort of affect their stocks, which you could look at as like a sale. Their stocks are going to go down.
Or are they thinking about absolutely when they lose money on a currency transaction, they can take a loss? But are they really shorting their stock, or are they shorting the U.S. dollar, the euro, and etc.? And I mean, remember, these guys are putting 1%, 2% or something. That's a good hedge. This isn't like we hope to get rich off that. It's like, shit, if all of our U.S. dollars go to zero, at least we have Bitcoin.
But the thing is like they can take the loss, and which is a tax benefit to them if the Bitcoin goes down. But they didn't sell the Bitcoin. It's just sitting there, so they didn't actually lose anything. And then when it goes back up, it looks like they have all this profit, so that makes their stock price go up. So it just seems like it's always good for them.
I'm not 100% sure it works that way. I'm not a tax guy, but I'm pretty sure that with these publicly traded things, like these big companies that are buying $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure that they have like audits and stuff, and that they can't just play. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's as simple as it sounds. I think that especially these days, like, people know what Bitcoin is. You're not going to, especially the people who are putting $1 billion in, I'm pretty sure they had to run this through boards of people and accountants before they even did it.
I remember they used to let Trump tweet all the time. They never stopped him from tweeting. But do you think they should take the phone away?
An IPO on his own Twitter, I am in.
It was funny to see, even after Trump is not president anymore, Twitter stock actually went up. I had thought the opposite, that since they were losing their major player there, and then they even kicked off their major player. Exciting stuff at the end.
Maybe it's not that simple, man. Maybe remember that when you have so many millions of investors, that there's some people that, despite this, what's the guy with the big beard's name? Despite him, I don't want to mention names. We still have lost faith in Twitter in general, and a $1 billion company, definitely a $1 billion company. Sorry, probably larger. Definitely can manipulate the price for a few weeks or a few months, but I wouldn't be surprised if Twitter was old news in 3 years.
We've got a question from the YouTube chat. Hello, chat. Rolando Tech says, who bought Doge? It was internet trolling from Elon. Did anyone here buy Doge?
Wasn't it internet trolling from day one? I didn't ever buy much Doge. I had a little bit, but I can say that I was kicked out of the Dogecoin camp at Burning Man. They said that I was smoking marijuana. I'm a medical marijuana patient, just to be clear. I was smoking marijuana, and they said that's not the look that they wanted for the Dogecoin camp in Burning Man back in 2015 or 2014. I'm not sure.
Wowzers. I had like $20 in it that I got from the Dogecoin IRC chat room, because everyone kind of tips each other and they soak and whatever. And so it was just like sitting in a wallet. And then when everything just went crazy, I looked at it again and it was like $600, but that was when it was at like 8 cents or whatever. And I didn't sell it until I couldn't sell. Like none of the exchanges were working, or I had a really hard time with that. But I ended up getting,
I think back when Doge was really big, it was really like less than a cent. Like I remember having billions of them or something. Don't quote me on that, but I mean, Doge, it always seemed like kind of a joke whenever it was going on. I'm surprised people take it so seriously.
Well, it's an oscillator because there's so many like millions of dollars in the space, and people, become like Satoshi millionaires and stuff, and now are just like playing with this stuff from like their house. The multiplier of Dogecoin is so high, you can really make a lot when it goes up just, a few Satoshis. And so people flip it. It's an oscillator. It goes back and forth. And right now it's just like, I think it's at a crazy high level. And I wonder if Elon is going to be able to bait people, the whales, into selling or getting rid of their coins or whatever, so that he could quote unquote back it and pump it to the moon.
The only thing I'll mention is like that. Roger, welcome to the chat. And the only thing I'd mention is like the law of large numbers, or whatever you call it, which is like if you're at a casino, say you're flipping a coin, and there's a 50% chance, but the casino has 10 million and you have 1 million. In the end of the day, the casino's always going to win, because they will have a run where it's heads long enough where you will lose all of your money. And anyways, Roger, welcome to the chat. Go ahead.
Hey guys. I saw that I saw that Mad Bitcoin was here, and I thought, damn, I haven't actually ever had a conversation with Thomas Hunt, the Mad Bitcoin World Crypto Network to the moon.
He's a bit mad, but he's wearing a suit these days.
Yeah.
I try to catch all of his shows. Do you guys know World Crypto Network?
I heard of it once before, of course.
Yeah, I just think he puts out some of the best crypto content out there. But
so what's your thought on the doggy coin, man? Like, are you riding doggy coin to the moon with Elon? Is that going to be the currency of the moon and Mars?
I love Doge. I mean, look, I'm a bit of a maximalist. I'll put it out there. Like, I feel like it's pretty much Bitcoin is our one shot. Like, but hey, like Doge is Doge, man. It's doing its Doge thing, and that's the main thing. So who knows what's gonna happen now?
Yeah, but if you look at like a chart for the last 6 months of Doge, I don't see that anybody's really made any money there.
Yeah, it's a bit like, it's a bit like GameStop as well, like I feel like there will be pumps and dumps, and Elon is, he's got time and money to do whatever the hell he likes, and who knows where it's going to end, but when you've got so much money, you can muck around, and it's not going to be any skin off his back. But yeah, some people who get too invested might actually go through a bit of pain, and that I don't wish that on anyone. Like some of these Wall Street bets dudes. I mean, I feel sorry for them if they got really invested and got wrecked. That sucks.
I think Clubhouse does a pretty good job of being really maximalist and really promoting the Bitcoin, and kind of almost to the point of being rude or toxic and shutting down all other talk of all other coins. So there's some work being done.
I don't know, man. This is one of my first real Clubhouse dialogues, and to be quite frank, every time I join a big room here, it's just kind of people rambling on about nothing. I don't see why we need this. This is like a party line back in the 90s where, I would three-way call you and you would three-way call a friend. And
yeah, I think I appreciate Clubhouse for it. You know, it's privacy and its flexibility, and that like.
What privacy is there?
No video. Well, it's easy like access. You can do it like in your shorts or in the bathroom or whatever.
But there's no privacy. If I look at the traffic that's being transmitted right now, it's all unencrypted.
Oh, I actually thought it was. I'm sure. Like, yeah, I'm sure. What I mean by privacy or liberalness, like you know, you post something on Facebook, and if it pisses off the wrong person, you know, you're sort of.
But this is tied to all of our Apple phones.
Yeah, but we can say whatever the fuck we like. At least at the moment, you know, like no one's gonna sort of.
I'm recording it and broadcasting it and saving it forever. So.
I know. I like, but what I mean is you can't. I guess you can get kicked off a chat, but you can't exactly get sort of, you know, blacklisted from Clubhouse. I don't know. Maybe you can.
I think you can. I mean, we had a guy in the chat once, and it was a legitimate audio troll, and I thought it was super fun. The guy popped in and he got on the stage, and it was one of these bigger rooms, you know, the famous people. And the guy goes, he goes, woo 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 woo, and then they kicked him off the stage. It was kind of fun. I thought it was nice.
I know. I've got a friend who, hey Thomas, I love you, man. Mad Bitcoin is going to take over the world one day. I truly believe it. I love your content, just by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. I do the best I can. It's fun because it's like what I want to do. So I just wanted to work on a project that I wanted to work on. So whether we're the biggest or the smallest or whatever, it's like you just get up and you keep doing it. And, you know, sometimes we have some fun like this, and we can have a, you know, nice little room and hang out with some people. So.
Yeah. And you know, Bitcoin is going to be there for everyone who I think ultimately who starts to recognize the power of it, and the fact that, you know, it's all about Bitcoin for World Crypto Network. That's just going to be the biggest support ever. And ultimately, man,
just to be really clear, World Crypto Network accepts donations in all major cryptocurrencies.
Well, you know, I think I sent actually some pounds once. I can't remember now, but you know, like however the donations come, I guess you guys are gonna use it in the right way. So that's awesome.
Have you seen Thomas Hunt's studio? I don't know that he's got microphones and a ham and cheese sandwich. So yeah, they're working on it.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. What were we talking about? I forgot. Before.
That's what everybody did. They all forgot about Dogecoin. It's like Doggy Coin. It's kind of like,
oh yeah.
It was fun for a while, but it's okay to forget about Dogecoin.
I mean, I know Thomas has his views on altcoins. Are you guys? I see some laser eyes here, but how much do you guys dabble in the alts then?
I traditionally have been a Bitcoin maximalist. I played a little
minimalist.
yeah, really, ultimately. But no, I in the very beginning I was mining Bitcoin like in 2011 or whatever. I did that with my processor, and then later ASIC machines, the Butterfly Labs and eruptors and stuff like that. But I would do Litecoin with my video card, and of course I was merge mining the Namecoin with Bitcoin. I never really bought it. I think I bought my first coin at $99 and sold it at about $700. But I was
You're cool because you mine Namecoin. Yeah. Namecoin is one of the first altcoins, one of the original ones, and it actually has a true utility.
Oh yeah, I've definitely invested philosophically. But anyways, I never got into Ethereum until recently. I knew that when they went to proof of stake that it was going to be a price pump, and that we were waiting for that with Bitcoin too. So
Vitalik was very clear it's overvalued, and that we're all going to lose our money investing in the gas.
Sure, but nevertheless, like about 0.8 Bitcoin was 32 Ethereum. That's when that was around $12,000. At maybe Ethereum at a price of like 400, and now it's at 1,500, so it's like tripled. It was quadrupled a little while ago. And what I think is cool about it is that it gains interest. It like gets me back into the mining game, right? And now that 32 Ethereum is worth like 64 grand, I'm not ever going to be able to afford to do that again. I can't like throw down, and it's only going to get more valuable over time. And so that little trickle of interest that I'm getting from the proof of stake, I feel like is good to spend on like video games like Dark Forest or whatever those gas transactions are. Like when I want to use a digital vending machine of the future or a DEX or something like that, the Ethereum will be one of the things that powers that. It might even someday be cheaper or make some kind of sense to move Bitcoin as wrapped Bitcoin on there. So like, because that future is unknown, I am interested in it right now, and I am running the staking, and I kind of split my stack in half, and now like half of my kind of savings is that Ethereum, and the other half is Bitcoin. So even though I've got laser eyes on, I really am open to like things like Dogecoin, not because I think it's the future of savings, but like maybe it's just a tipping thing, I don't know.
I feel it, man. I get that. I as much of a maximalist as I am, I'll never, I mean, that's why it's open source, right? Like, I mean, that's exactly why Satoshi made things open source for people to experiment. And why would you ever stop experimentation? I mean, I can kind of get why maximalists get really angry though. Like I get that too, that like when you do sense that some of these other projects could potentially be trying to be Bitcoin or trying to imitate or trying to like when they use the word Bitcoin in their project name, that actually starts to get to me too. I mean, I'd still say, well, do your thing, man. You want to be called, Bitcoin Gold or Bitcoin Dust or whatever you want to be called, do it. But know that you're going to face the heat. And look, I don't give people heat for buying whatever they want to or investing in whatever they want to. And I think it's absolutely, that's the whole idea, like let people do whatever the hell they want as long as they don't hurt you, so it makes perfect sense that people are going to invest in other projects and no one can tell the future. I mean, who knows where the whole decentralized finance world is headed. There's just no way to know. And so people are going to bet on that. And that's kind of cool. Yeah, for sure.
Deposit a car, withdraw a house.
What's that?
Sorry, I feel like kind of the summary is like, you deposit a car and then later withdraw a house. The values of the stuff just goes crazy over time.
Oh man, it's insane, isn't it? I can't. Obviously, like people, they know that maybe there's a lot of people out there know that this world is available to them and that they can make money, but there's a lot of risk adverse people in the world, and so they would prefer to be prudent. But at the end of the day, I mean, you look at the world we're living in today, I fully believe Bitcoin specifically is one of the safest things you can invest in today. I don't know what you guys feel about that, but I'm so I avoid risk at all costs in a way. Like I wouldn't go bungee jumping just you know, just for the sake of it. You know, I'm not into risk really. And people look at me and go, wow, that dude's into Bitcoin. What a freaking, you know, gambler. And I just think, mate, it's the safest thing around. I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, it sounds like if you guys got into Namecoin and, you know, some of these other early projects, you've been around for a while, so you've probably seen a lot more than me.
Well, everyone right now seems to believe that Bitcoin only goes up. So I like this feeling, and I wish we could have it forever. But I've been there when Bitcoin was 1,400 and it went to 300, and I just got paid, you know, $1,400 for last month, and my rent price didn't go down 70% as well. You know, they were waiting there for the full amount on the rent. The checking accounts, they will crash. You know, your checking account, you think you're being smart. You're like, I'm going to buy some more Bitcoin, you know, because it's Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
And the checking account is like, you're at negative $50. It's like, oh, I didn't make any money. Like I tried to get that 20% up, but I lost it because I had to pay $100 check bouncing fee. So there is another side to this out there. Like it's fun now while it's all up, and even the football player made money. But yeah, I don't know that it's always going to be like this. So I worry a little about some of the out of control optimism.
Well, I feel this, Thomas. I actually wanted to talk to you guys about what you think of the institutional investors that start coming in. I mean, yeah, they sound as though they're going to put a lot more into the market, but
no, they're not putting a lot of money. We're a 1 trillion market cap, and they're saying they're going to put like $1 billion or something, which is less than 1% for us and around 1% for them. So it's not really like the institutional investors saying, yeah, we're going all Bitcoin. I mean, Tesla's hundreds of billions of dollars, and they put in $1.5 billion. And because Twitter is allowing them to brag, it's a huge thing.
Sure. No, but what I mean, I didn't finish. What I mean is how strong are their hands? Like, the people think that just because it's, you know, Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan or whatever, that yeah, they're going to put in some money, but are they just as likely to pull that money out, you know, according to their risk metrics and stuff like that? Like
I don't think so, because I think to get approval from board members and such to invest, like, say, $1 billion of some fund or some publicly traded stock such as Tesla, it took weeks or months of planning to do that. And I really don't think you can trade in and out of it that quickly when you're talking about a publicly traded regulated fund or stock such as Tesla.
I'm not so much worried about them taking their money in and out or deciding tomorrow that Bitcoin's not cool. I think what Roger's kind of saying is that these people aren't our friends, right? They have millions of dollars and they're rolling in and they're buying the investment that we all like and that we all wear the hats and we wear the shirts and all that.
And that's exactly what I agree with you on. That's what I was saying is when you say these guys are buying a bunch of Bitcoin, they're not. They're buying a very small speculative amount for them, and it's not even their money.
Well, and it doesn't matter to them if it's Bitcoin or gold or stock in the new cool company. They're buying something because they want it to go up and they want to make money, and the numbers look good, the market looks good. But the thing I worry about is I see all these memes and people are creating Michael Saylor memes and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, are you really paying attention? Like that, they're carrying the Trojan horse inside the walls. Like it's great. Like we need them to do this. Like obviously they're not going to let me carry the Trojan horse, right? We need these other people who look like they're part of the financial institution to bring the Trojan horse in. But once that horse is in there, it's full of Greeks and they're coming out, right? And they burn Troy to the ground. And people forget this. They're like, oh, we'll just go into Troy and we'll buy lattes with our phones. Because that's what this has always been about, is lattes with our phones and buying Teslas. No normal person could just buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. That's not a transaction that we make every day. Oh, I just bought 3 Teslas. Oh, I bought 5 yesterday. No, that doesn't happen. So yeah, I think if you're in it for the long run, if you're in it for the real technical things, the probable future of this thing is the underground currency of the world. All the corporations, all the governments, all attack it. They all try to copy it. They all try to drown it, and they can't get rid of it, just like they can't get rid of the idea of the Silk Road, the idea of the marketplace where you can buy anything you want, and the idea of the currency that gets it done for you. That's Bitcoin. And all this other, the layers and the tokens and the NFTs.
At the same point, I still don't think that they're not really manipulating any markets. Like, I don't think Elon and them are pumping and dumping, and their little billion or whatever Tesla put in at our $1 trillion market cap. Man, your billion is nothing. Tweet about it all you want, but in the end of the day, even these big guys are behind the 8 ball. They're now like, oh, okay, we better hedge just in case. We'll put $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. But in general, I just don't think that it's that relevant. Like 1 billion worth of Bitcoin and Tesla is nothing.
It's not so much the money. I agree with you, Mike. It's a drop in the bucket money wise, but I think it's that public support. It's Elon putting Bitcoin on his Twitter, and it's Michael Saylor having a conference with all his rich friends and saying, hey, your businesses should buy Bitcoin too. And here's how my business did it. That's speaking to cultures that I can't speak to. Just like around here on Clubhouse, there's a fantastic group, the Black Bitcoin Billionaires. And they are speaking to a whole culture that I can't speak to, and they're doing great work doing the help and the how-to videos. And in the same way, Michael Saylor's doing help and how-to videos for giant corporations. They're all like they're amplifying their message. They put their money in, but it's their amplification that we really need.
Yeah, I really feel like with people, I mean, like I know we're in a bull market at the moment, so we're not going to see mega drawdowns anyway. But there is this kind of super cycle vibe going on about, with institutions involved, we're just not going to get the mega drawdowns really until, well, let's face it, like if retail come in a strong way and they really pump the price to way, over the top, then we will get a blow off top, and then we will dump again. But ultimately, the strong hands are going to be strong hands. So they could, the strong hands could be in the retail, but they could also be in the corporations as well. So let's hope that there's enough intelligence being passed on by the likes of Michael Saylor to keep these institutions strong, and maybe we're not going to see such mega drawdowns. Because I feel for you, Thomas. You were there in the very beginning, and you felt the pain of those drawbacks. And maybe everyone in Bitcoin needs to feel that pain to recognize, that there has to be some sacrifice for that gain. I feel for you, Thomas, and I really respect all those early Bitcoiners that have, held the torch for all of us for so long. I really appreciate what you've done for the space, man.
Well, it's fine, and they're going to have their own meetings. I mean, there's a point where the board is going to throw Elon out because he lost so much money on Bitcoin. But there's also a possible future where the board celebrates Elon because he made so much money on Bitcoin. So I'm not sure where we're going to go on that. I want to welcome Veronica to the stage. How's it going, Veronica?
Hello.
Hey, Veronica.
Hey. It's going quite good. Thanks. And yeah, I'm totally with you, Thomas. I think it was a big step of Elon putting in that much money into Bitcoin. But what I think was more important of that key was like putting Bitcoin on his Twitter. He was tweeting stuff like it was in hindsight, it was inevitable. And Michael Saylor inviting all his rich friends and teaching them how to peg Bitcoin into their balance sheets, and PayPal adding like the functionality of buying and selling Bitcoin, and Square jumping into it, and like BlackRock, the biggest fund manager in the world, they're like
they'll be buying Bitcoin soonish, stuff like that. I think this gives trust into Bitcoin, because I bet there's many CEOs at the moment that are thinking of adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets in like quite some time, but they're waiting for the last signal to signal of trust, to also like justify that step. And I can imagine that Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey, etc., are giving exactly this trust to them. So yeah, and I think we might see a little bit more downside, but this time I don't think it will be much more, because it's a different sentiment than, for example, in 2017. But yeah, I might be wrong, and maybe everyone needs to feel the same. How is everyone? We're good. Thank you, babe. Good to have you. I just see your beautiful pictures from like some pool and the sun and like working out. I was like, fuck, there's someone going to the gym. Well, no, actually, my gym routine, I only make it seem good, but it's not like as good as it seems. I wish. Although the beach and the sun and the rest of the vacation stuff here is amazing. But let's not talk about it here. The Bitcoin is the topic. Yeah, I know. Let's go with that. So what else were you talking about? What's the
meaning of life? Where is Satoshi? What's going on with those million Bitcoins he is holding? Why does the sun set so quickly? Yeah, these kind of things.
What? Okay. How can you make fast money with a crypto? Who gives the great advice how to make money with crypto over here, huh? I want to make money and I want to make it fast, and I don't have much money. I only have like $50. How can I like double, triple, quadruple 10 times? Give me the magic pill.
I mean, I believe you can only make money slowly, like but I don't want to burst your bubble, Margarita.
That was more of a sarcastic question, but yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, no, because I really believe everyone involved in Bitcoin will. I mean, particularly getting in early is really going to change your life. There's no question about that.
I don't know. It's just about getting in early, man. Like the most important thing, like we were talking about earlier, is get paid in Bitcoin. It's a global economy now. You can do whatever you do, and it doesn't matter where you are. You can get paid the same if you're in Bangladesh or if you're in Hong Kong. So, I mean, it's a global free market. Let's start getting people to earn in Bitcoin, and then it will really store more value. But this whole, like, how do I get in? It's not, man, unless you're like Morgan Stanley and you're like, oh, shit, we got a shit ton of money and we kind of missed this. How do we get in? All right, tell the traders to buy $1 billion of that, whatever that Bitcoin thing is. No, the reality is, if you're an average person, how do you get in? Do something for value and get someone to pay you in Bitcoin. Be it design a website, be it do consulting, whatever it is. But I mean, work and earn in Bitcoin. You'd be surprised how big the job market is for Bitcoin right now. Everything's way up. There's tons of Bitcoin companies that need help. So if you're willing to work, that's the best way to get Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it's tons of jobs. I mean, the price rise now translates directly into job offers. Like I'm saying, so nice to see that all the companies that were struggling for the last 2-3 years, then didn't know if they can employ many more people, because if Bitcoin fell much more, they had to fire them again. So everyone was like kind of holding back, and now it's so many new job offers. Like really nice to see the ecosystem growing.
Don't look at the price of Bitcoin and let that dictate how you get involved in Bitcoin. Don't think, oh, well, I should have bought some last week. Think, oh, well, there's tons of jobs here this week that pay in Bitcoin. And join one of them and save some of your Bitcoin. Just convert what you need to, buy your cup of ramen noodles and survive. A very old friend of mine, somebody I've known since, I don't know, more than 8 years or 9 years in Bitcoin. One of the things he always says is, you have to live like a monk now. And this was when Bitcoin was $30, and then again when it was $100, and then when again it was $1,000. And he's been traveling the world for these years, and he still keeps saying, no, live like monk. Just buy simple food and hold your Bitcoin. And he's probably one of the wealthiest people I know. So it's not about buying and holding or being there early. It's about being involved in the ecosystem and being a part of it, and not just spending. If you get paid in Bitcoin, hold it and be part of it. And if you don't get paid in Bitcoin, that's fine. Put 10% of what you get paid in Bitcoin. But in general, there's so many opportunities in Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, great advice. Fantastic advice, man. Thanks, Michael.
Definitely good stuff there, Mike. I agree with that. Let's ask some more people here, add them to the group. And if you'd like to add anyone to this room, feel free to add anyone you'd like into this room. We are live on the internet, of course, but you should always keep that in mind. Even here on the wonderful ephemeral Clubhouse, you should always assume that you're being recorded. So it's fun.
Well, you don't have to assume it. I'm recording all of you.
Well, I know. I put the red dot up there. We're totally being public about it, but it's also a thing here in California. You just have to say it. They're saying in the chat on YouTube that the EV1 was a good car. GM had something. Maybe they'll have something better in the future. And I agree with that. I think there's a chance that GM or Ford or Mercedes-Benz or one of the traditional car companies sneaks up on Tesla here and maybe takes away the electronic car market.
All right, but if you are a Bitcoiner, and let's just theorize here. Let's say you have a talk show about Bitcoin that you do on a network. Let's just theorize and call it World Crypto Network. And you're like kind of a Bitcoin guy, and Bitcoin kind of, that's what pays your electricity bill and your internet's over there and things. And so are you going to buy a GM or are you going to buy a Tesla since Elon bought 1 billion of Bitcoin?
Well, obviously a Tesla, and also a Tesla has doors that go like this, right? I mean, I can't get a car with normal doors.
I mean, really though, are we going to have any loyalty to Elon, or do we just think he's a pump and dumper and playing games? Or I guess really time will tell. If in a year Elon's Tesla still has that billion or whatever it is worth of Bitcoin, and it's hopefully by then 100 billion or more. But really, what do you guys think on that?
I think loyalty.
I don't think he'll be.
Yeah, loyalty is something you earn over time. So yeah, Elon had plenty of chances to be with Bitcoin back in the day. I think he said something like, "I only have a quarter. A friend of mine gave me a quarter of Bitcoin once. I just hold it."
But to do it, there's nothing to it but to do it.
No,
and you know what? I don't care how long he talked about it. I don't care how long he talked about it. He did it. He put a significant amount of money to your and my small years in there. Maybe not to Tesla, but hey, man, he did it. Do you think he's going to hang out? If he does, if Elon's there in a year and there's a GM car and a Tesla car, the same features and everything, are we going to have loyalty to Elon?
I think we will. Veronica, what do you think?
If we're having loyalty with Elon, but I think he might have talked about his quarter of Bitcoin he's holding or so for quite some time. But as Michael is saying, he's in it now, and I don't think he'll be pumping and dumping. He really wants to establish a parallel economy and have Bitcoin as reserve currency or so. He won't be dumping because he knows as soon as.
So German car, Volkswagen or Mercedes is same price.
It is
as
only
Tesla.
pump and
Are
no
you
dump.
going to buy the? Are you going to buy the Tesla because Elon put Tesla stock in Bitcoin, or are you going to buy the Mercedes that's the same price from your own country but doesn't invest in Bitcoin?
Me. If I could, I'd buy a Tesla for sure, rather than a Mercedes.
Let's see if he dumps it though, because after his stuff with the doggy coin, I'm not sure what he's up to. But I don't think he can
What do you
actually
think he's
like buy and sell $1 billion worth of Tesla's assets like that. I don't think it's something he can play games with. I think it takes months to do this. I'm pretty sure he went to the SEC months ago to say, "Hey, we're going to put $1 billion in."
Absolutely. But what do you think he'll be doing? Why do you think he did that? What is his goal?
Well,
His
I would say
long-term
that any
perspective with
investor
Bitcoin.
at this point should have 1% of Bitcoin in their pocket. And that's basically all he's done. So, I mean, does it make any difference to Bitcoin that when we have $1 trillion market cap that Elon buys $1 billion? No, it doesn't at all. His tweets make a much bigger difference on the marketing capacity. But for these big hedge funds and stuff also, when they say, okay, we're going to buy $1 billion in Bitcoin, doesn't mean they're pro Bitcoin or anything. These are small, well-calculated hedges. They're not like, we're super, Tesla's going to double its value because of Bitcoin. Man, it's 1%. They don't even care about Bitcoin. They're just a publicity stunt.
Do you think he doesn't care about Bitcoin and is only in it for having it as a hedge in his portfolio? Or do you think he has
I think he's in it for a publicity stunt. I don't think it's actually a legitimate financial decision. I think it's an Elon Musk, let's make a flamethrower decision or these kind of things. I wouldn't say don't take it seriously. I'm not saying that he's joking, but I don't know that it's a financial, true, legitimate, rational decision.
Well, his girlfriend Grimes is into NFTs right now. Like, she was just posting today that, like, she's about to post some, like, first NFT art. And there's, like, one also company that does the art NFTs that is, like, all about her. And, like, since she's a new girlfriend of Elon Musk and the mother of his new baby, then I guess they're, like, both kind of into crypto out of a sudden and full time. Yeah.
And there'll be a whole series of articles soon about Elon supporting Ethereum or whatever platform his girlfriend's NFTs are on. I agree with Mike here. Just because these people
the difference is that with Dogecoin or whatever, he did that without any actual proof that he was an investor. And with Bitcoin, he had to, with the SEC, actually file something. So this isn't Elon just tweeting that we bought $1 billion. There's actual appropriate filings with the SEC confirming that they have the Tesla stock in this. I don't know that, do we have any addresses or any confirmation that Elon ever even owned Dogecoin at all?
Even these big companies haven't proved they own
actually.
Bitcoin. So like MicroStrategies hasn't put out an address
No,
that we can watch,
I think
anything
that
like that.
The SEC can confirm that Tesla owns the Bitcoin. I think that they have to have that.
Oh yeah, they have.
I'm not
They put money
sure,
in.
but I think so.
The Tesla Bitcoin allocation is definitely can prove it. But Dogecoin, I think he never, or Doge, I don't know how it's pronounced. I think there is no proof, and I think he just did that actually to not being accused of market, as a test, and not being accused of market manipulation too much. Yeah, so he was just putting that on the front page, kind of, and then a week later be like, hey, but I'm into Bitcoin.
Oh, he's no worse than that bearded guy from Twitter or than Zuckerberg with Facebook, who think they can censor the president and stuff like that and decide who has free speech or not. I'm not saying I'm pro-Trump, but I mean, my God, when does Zuckerberg and the bearded man from Twitter decide they get to like censor who sees billions of views of one political candidate? It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that you'd definitely be much more confident with someone like Michael Saylor and how he's approached the whole, he's putting his treasury in and, he's making content, he's constantly tweeting. I mean, imagine Elon Musk making content the way...
What I meant more is, like, you see these other guys flexing their weight, like, the Facebook guy and the Twitter guy flexing their weight, like, we're going to censor these people, we're going to promote this, and we're going to turn off that. Is this not Elon just being like, hey, listen, you won't let me manipulate? And he's gotten in trouble in the past for manipulating his stocks. But he's like, yeah, you won't let me manipulate my stock. Well, I'm going to manipulate Dogecoin, and then my stock's going to buy some Bitcoin. I'm going to manipulate that, and you can't regulate it. I mean, is that a bad thing for us or a good thing?
Well, remember, Elon's kind of like the trickster genius, right? He's out there knocking over things and messing around and having fun. So I don't know if it's that good or that bad for Bitcoin, but to really get at what you're getting here, Mike, I think
person in the world, right?
I think there's a possibility because Elon's in pretty good position. He kind of owns and controls his company. I don't know about Michael Saylor, but eventually,
he jumped above the Amazon guy already long ago.
I think eventually what's going to happen, though, is because the price of Bitcoin does go up and down, even though everyone's forgotten this, they think it only goes up. There's a possibility that one day one of these boardrooms is going to call one of these genius CEOs that bought Bitcoin during the up times, and Bitcoin's going to be during the down times. And they're going to say to the genius CEO, what did you do with our money? What did you do?
It's 1% of Tesla's value. So if 1% of the diversified assets goes down, nobody complains. If 1% goes up and becomes 10%, he's a hero.
Well, then he's made a good decision by keeping his risk low. Everyone else should only put 1% of their money into crypto too.
I think every multi-billion-dollar company will put 1% or 2% in. I'm not saying that those, especially those that are in tune to crypto, like myself, I work every day in crypto, and I'm far more exposed than 1% of my assets. But for the general funds and stuff, man, it's at the point now where if you've got a few $billion, you need to put 1% of that into Bitcoin just in case. Maybe it'll be 10% in 10 years.
I think it'll be 10% by the end of the year.
My point also, though, is that with these big billion-dollar companies where it's a 1% hedge kind of, if it does go down, let's say it goes down to 20%, but in 10 years it's up to 200,000, they're still going to win because they can ride out the ups and downs on a 1% diversification kind of a hedge in their fund. It's not like if Tesla's 1% of holdings in Bitcoin, it goes down to from $1 billion or whatever it was to half that Tesla's going bankrupt and has to force sell. They're going to ride it through.
I mean, ultimately, the more people understand about Bitcoin, the more people, distribute information about Bitcoin, the more likely buyers of Bitcoin are going to understand the value prospect of Bitcoin, and they're going to be far less likely to sell even when things get rough. And
I think us individual investors are kind of getting lost these days, man. I think these big institutions, like who is individually buying at 50 grand? I think these big institutional investors are saying, hey, man, like it doesn't really matter the current price. In 10 years, it's going to be bigger. We need to get 1% into it. It doesn't matter if it costs us a little extra on the entry or whatever. But I don't see any of my friends, any individual small technology nerd people who are like, man, I wish I bought more Bitcoin. 55,000 sounds like a good price.
Very true. That's actually a message we should spread more in our social circles, actually. Yeah, because for many, it's like, wow, it grows so much, and it's exactly that point. It will probably be much higher in a couple of years, so it doesn't matter if you buy in at 40K or 50K, actually. Yeah.
If you can hold it for 5 years. So that's the big thing. When you look at these big funds, they've got balls of steel. And they're used to holding something, and when they make a calculated investment, they say we're going to buy at 50K and we're going to sell in 10 years at 200K, or in 10 years at whatever it is. And if we lose half, that's fine. If we don't, doesn't matter. If we make big money, great. But the problem is with the individual investors, when we have rent and stuff and we have realistic expenses, and it's not like realistically 1% of our $1 billion profile, we get FOMO'd, and we get remember one very important thing that I learned in business school, and that is that trading is a zero-sum game. So if you are getting rich on Bitcoin and you're selling it, whatever, someone is buying. So for everyone that makes money, someone is losing money. This is not like money is growing on trees here. There's not money being created out of nothing. For every seller, there is a buyer. and the buyer is either profiting or losing. It's a zero-sum game. So it's the same like trading a stock. We have to remember that. Don't get blown away by the news and stuff and just like, oh my God, everybody does Bitcoin is going to get rich. Because then you're going to buy at 55, it's going to go to 45, and you're going to feel like you're losing and you're going to sell. And you're going to be one of the main people who's funding the big guys that are holding a long term. Sorry if that didn't make much sense, but the most important thing is try to work for Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
I'm becoming 100%. A fan of you, Michael.
Yeah, it's true.
That was a good speech. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, Michael. That's absolutely spot on. I mean, anyone who's thinking of investing, I think, really has to think of the long term. And so, you know, the idea that you would put so much of your net worth into any investment without calculating for, you know,
that's the difference in a professional and an amateur investor. A professional investor, like when, I don't care if Elon says he's putting it in Bitcoin or not, he has 100 people somewhere in an office, actuaries and accountants and people who double checked all this before he made this announcement and before he showed it to the SEC, who said, okay, man, this actually is not so dumb. Like, but don't get the wrong idea that Elon woke up and like, I want $1 billion of Bitcoin. Hey, Nate, call the people, tell them Tesla, we're in for $1 billion. That's the big difference. Is we have to remember, as casual as Elon seems, he has hundreds of actuaries and accountants and people double checking this. And us as average investors are usually the ones that make them rich. So let's not hate on Elon, but let's remember that he can afford to ride this out. So if you're buying Bitcoin now and you're hoping to ride some pump and dump with Elon, probably bad idea. But if you're going to buy, and Thomas Hunt says it all the time, if you want to buy and hold for 5 years, you're probably going to do all right. Cost average, though.
Yeah, I think it's the only way to go with Bitcoin. You get long-term horizon has got to be a part of your plan for sure.
Veronica, what's going on in Germany these days with Bitcoin? I hear you're regulating everything with the ATMs. You're going to kick all the ATMs out. You don't like us.
What?
Yeah, they said ATMs have to have a bank license now. Gideon and me and all the other ATM guys.
Yeah,
we're out
of
there.
Of guys in Germany that actually have quite some ATMs. I think they're standing in some garage or whatever, but the regulation is super unclear at the moment, so no one dares to enter the market really. But as soon as there was like clear regulation, I think quite some people would set up some. But at the moment, it's difficult.
I have 2 ATM machines in my living room from Germany that we're waiting to deploy. They're in my living room in Spain that we're waiting to deploy in Germany as soon as they can change these laws or allow anybody that's not a giant bank to compete.
Yeah, you should. Do you know John? You can talk to him. I think he's a bit more into that. ATM groups and stuff. So, yeah.
All right, so I guess we ended the discussion on Elon. We will table it for 6 months, and let's see if Elon is still in Bitcoin, and if Tesla stock has doubled because their 1% of their stock in Bitcoin made a difference. But if Bitcoin does go down, I don't think Tesla stock will go down at all.
I mean, when you buy into a company that has invested in Bitcoin, so say you were to buy shares in MicroStrategy.
But it's 1%.
No, I'm just talking about MicroStrategy. Like, for example, you know, you're effectively buying Bitcoin as well in that sense.
I think with Tesla, you're buying so much hype, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That is really interesting. What the next 6 months bring and whether the same companies like Square and Tesla actually start to invest more into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin increases in its price value, and all of a sudden.
Well, again, Square, we're talking 1%. I think Square is also owned by Amex, partially at least, or something like that. So I mean, you're talking huge transactional companies like Square and PayPal that are getting involved in Bitcoin, and they're like 1% getting involved in it just so they have their finger on the pulse, and so that they can claim to their stockholders that, hey, yeah, we're Square, we're working with crypto. But the reality of the situation is 1% or less of their business. And if all the crypto they bought went to zero, it would do them better because it would be less competition.
There's a very big chance that in the next 6 months, particularly if the bull market keeps doing what it's doing, that more and more companies are going to start, getting on the bandwagon. Even if companies get on board and then it's a fad, and then retail come in and pump it up, and then it dumps again, it's never going to, it's still going to be a very profitable thing for these companies. And so the chances of them putting in more and more as time goes on, I think there's
certainly good chances of them being more and more heavily invested in it. But when we look at PayPal and we look at Square, these are companies that are making their money on transacting money, charging fees to move from bank to bank and such. There is no real utility to PayPal being involved in me sending you Bitcoin. So say you work for me, you design my website, and you live in Thailand, and I live in, Argentina. And I'm trying to send you your $200 a month or whatever to manage my website. We could use PayPal, and they charge their fees to move it through banks. But what is the value? And also, so far as I'm aware, Square doesn't let you do anything with Bitcoin, and PayPal only lets you buy and sell it within your account. And why would you want PayPal to be the custodial of your Bitcoin trading instead of like Kraken or one of the multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin exchanges, instead of some traditional payment service that, I just don't know that the service would. I don't know if anybody works with PayPal on a routine basis. I haven't in years, but they're a pain in the ass to work with. I don't know anybody who's a serious trader or something who's going to use PayPal to trade their Bitcoin, and you can't let it leave the PayPal network. And Square doesn't let you trade Bitcoin at all. But again, what do Square and PayPal benefit from integrating with Bitcoin? What do they make it easier? So maybe I could say I donate $10 a month to World Crypto Network, and I use PayPal to do that. Maybe now I could pay with Bitcoin to do that, but I mean, Thomas would rather just take the Bitcoin and not have to pay the extra fee. So I just don't see how, aside from a hedge of holding Bitcoin for their value of their company, I don't see how PayPal and Square benefit from Bitcoin in any way. In the behind the scenes stuff, they've already got so many connections where they don't have an issue moving billions of dollars around, and they're settling all of this through inter-house channels and things where they're only paying the net. So say in a day from Argentina to Brazil, you have $100 million moving with Western Union or with PayPal or with whatever. Because there's 80 million moving the other way, it's only a 20 million that they actually have to process. And because of this volume, it gives them a huge advantage. So where does Bitcoin help them? Anyways, sorry I got off topic, but yeah.
So basically they're buying Bitcoin just because they've got cash. They don't want to see it melt away.
I think they're just trying to be cool. I mean, remember, so if Elon said we're going to put 50% of Tesla stock in Bitcoin, we're going to buy 250 billion or whatever it is, then I would be very interested. But Elon saying we're going to put 1% and tweeting that to 100 million people, it's more flap than throttle. It's more market than it is. It's more gimmick than it is reality. And like PayPal They just want people who are like, your average. You'd be surprised how many billions of people have PayPal accounts. They want your average PayPal person to go in there and be like, oh, Bitcoin, I think I can get rich. Sure. I have $300 in my account for my pay this month. I'm going to go ahead and put $50 in there. And then PayPal's going to charge you. They're going to hold it. They might even lend it out. I don't even know what their terms are or whatever. I wouldn't trust PayPal with anything. But the reality of the situation is Square and PayPal have no interest in promoting Bitcoin. And Elon didn't put any substantial value in.
So how is PayPal going to make money from Bitcoin transactions? Surely they're going to make something, aren't they?
You can buy Bitcoin and hold it and then sell it, and they make the transaction fee each way. You cannot send it to anyone currently.
Sure. So it's a transaction fee that they're getting a cut of.
I would really call it an exchange fee because you're buying Bitcoin that you hold in your PayPal wallet, and then you're selling it back to your bank account through PayPal. You cannot send the Bitcoin to anyone else. And let's remember the whole theory of Bitcoin here is that you're in control of your money, and we wanted to get rid of PayPal and Square and these guys.
I mean, third party, people just like that convenience that, people don't want to deal with their private keys and seed phrases and all that stuff. I mean,
so why do they need Bitcoin then? Just use PayPal like you were before.
Yeah, because you're right. Because people just love the fact that Bitcoin's going to go up. That's so you're right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Or some old suit somewhere that are investors in PayPal heard, oh, PayPal, they want to accept Bitcoin. We'll vote on that on the board. And now they accept Bitcoin, which they actually provide no utility to. But I don't know that it's actually, I wouldn't read too much into it. I don't think if they're doing anything, it's marketing. They're not doing anything of utility to us. Elon, I don't know. All he's doing is marketing too. Like I said, it's less than 0.1% of our market capital, and it's 1% of Tesla's market capital. So it's not like we're talking a substantial investment.
Yeah. On the other hand, MicroStrategy is a completely different story then. If you're looking at, percentages and, the amount of real investment, even if you compare MicroStrategy to just, one of us, to put that much of your treasury into Bitcoin and to keep doing it, and now to start taking out loans, effectively they're acquiring investors and acquiring investor money to then go out and buy Bitcoin with. I mean, I think Michael Saylor's doing something even much more intense than even, than even maximalists like us would do. I mean, he's getting his shirt off, man.
I don't know. I just would be careful. I would say that Elon is great. He's very full throttle about it, but he's also the guy that said, I'm giving a break to Twitter and came back a few hours later. So I don't think Elon is our spokesperson or advocate. I think that it's great that a huge company wants to put a very small percentage of their assets in. I think we have to remember that even though $1 billion might seem like a lot to us, people even in the crypto world, when the market cap used to be only a few billion or even less. But let's remember also this is not a major thing for the Tesla board or the Tesla corporation. Let's remember that what happened with Dogecoin with Elon's pumping and I guess it wasn't pumping and dumping because we can't confirm he ever owned any, but the price of Dogecoin or whatever you want to call it is back to about the same. And a lot of people lost money in that huge spike. I don't know who was buying and who was selling, but people lost money. There was a lot of volume, and I don't think we should put too much merit or heart into what Elon or PayPal or Square or these other companies are doing until they're putting 10 or 20 or 50% of their holdings into crypto, or they're really facilitating it.
Have you seen Michael Saylor videos?
I have not, no.
Sorry? You haven't
don't
seen
really have any time to
Saylor
watch videos, man. Sorry. I don't watch any videos at all of anything ever.
Those talks that he gives are pretty worth watching.
I'm sorry, Michael, man, but you cannot talk about companies if you haven't seen what MicroStrategy have been doing with Bitcoin. You cannot. I'm sorry. You literally cannot. Like, you have to understand what Michael Saylor is doing for fucking Bitcoin, man. He's literally had conferences with thousands of CEOs from some of the biggest companies in the world. Like, these dudes are seriously gonna put like a fucking wall of money into Bitcoin, and it's not gonna be like 1% or 2%. I mean, MicroStrategy they've now bought $1 billion worth, and okay, that might not be a lot compared to Tesla, but MicroStrategy is only about $1 billion, dollars. It's bought more than its net worth as a company. So to say that, it's just like chips, or, a small amount, sure, it might be a small amount for Elon, but there are some people with some serious money who are taking a serious look at Bitcoin. So I really urge you to take a look at Michael Saylor, man. He's a fucking advocate from heaven for Bitcoin.
Oh, I'm a complete advocate too, man. I'm not against any of that. I just haven't watched all the videos. I definitely heard of them before that.
I think part of the problem is when Mike or when I or somebody hears about Michael Saylor or Elon Musk suddenly getting into Bitcoin, there's a lot of question about where were they when they started, when Bitcoin started, because nothing about Bitcoin has changed. When I read about Bitcoin the first time, it was the same general idea. When I got into Bitcoin, Bitcoin was the same. And now I've been into Bitcoin, what people say is a long time. And to me, it's still the same Bitcoin. So when I see these people, I'm like, why did they suddenly have a flash? Why did they suddenly flip into it? Was it the price? Was it the velocity of the price? And there's a lot of instinct to just say, well, there's the term they had in the Civil War is a carpetbagger. And what you'd do is you'd wrap up all your possessions in a carpet and you'd kind of staple it together at the top. And then you'd go down to the South and you'd sell things. And there was these people from the North that were carpetbaggers, and they'd move throughout the South and taking advantage of the new post-Civil War atmosphere. And you wonder with these guys, but I like that they have the videos and they have the conferences and they're doing all this stuff. It's just, I think there's something surreal and something shocking for an early Bitcoiner when you're like, I remember when I got into Bitcoin and I said, it's only 21 million units. It's good. And then you see Michael Saylor or somebody say the exact same thing. And suddenly everyone cares. Suddenly it's a big deal. Suddenly we should stop everything we're doing. But this has been true the whole time. So I just think that's hard to overcome.
And of course, Thomas Hunt and I have since day one held 1% of all of our assets in Bitcoin, which is why we're all billionaires now. And exactly.
Look, I think Max Geiser said, you buy Bitcoin at the price for you. What's he say? Everyone buys Bitcoin when they at the right price. That's it. Everyone buys Bitcoin.
They deserve. I think this was kind of the thing that was said. No?
Yeah, the price they deserve. And look, I mean, the world is so misled in so many ways. There's so much misinformation. There's so many.
We should all follow Peter Schiff. Have you seen his things where after like 6 months or a year or something, he's like, okay, I was wrong about Bitcoin. And still he's like, all right, but you guys realize you're all going to lose your money and you're all idiots. It's like, all right, Peter, why don't we bet? Like, come on, short Bitcoin. I'll lend you my Bitcoins. We can short them.
Look, everyone's going to come to it in their own way and come in and out of it. And there's many different reasons for why people stick around. There's that saying, I came for the money, but I stuck around for the philosophy or for the meaning of Bitcoin. And yeah, you do what's right for you. But I don't know. I'm hoping now. I guess I've only been involved since sort of beginning of 2017. But in a way, for me, I'm really hopeful that the intelligence that's coming into the space now is it was difficult for them to get into the space before because of how niche Bitcoin was, but now it's reached a point where intelligent people hopefully are coming in for the right reasons and sticking around for the right reasons, and they're intelligent enough because, well, they've got enough capital to make a difference, and hopefully they're going to stick around, and that difference is going to make the whole network prosper, and it's going to be worthwhile for everyone involved in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I also think it was way too niche for them before, and just in the last half a year or year, they kind of saw the momentum building up around Bitcoin, and they also knew that, for example, Elon Musk, that he can just intensify this momentum that is building up. No, once he's tweeting about Bitcoin, etc. Yeah.
Right, I agree. I don't think Elon is that sort of rash. Like, I think, yeah, this Doge thing may be a bit rash, but he hasn't put 1.5 billion into Doge, so it's not like, you know, I'm sure. It sounds like it was just a personal thing for Doge. Like, yeah, let's have a play. And also maybe it's because maybe the Wall Street Bets people were sort of like, yeah, maybe we can, you know, screw Wall Street with Doge. You know, maybe that was a play as well. So Elon just wants to help the little guy out there as well. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking about Elon too positively for Michael. I don't know. Sorry, man. You never know what's really going on with some of these big guys. I mean, Jack Dorsey's an interesting one because he's always, you know, not always, but he buys, for example, you know, he buys as much Bitcoin as he can sort of every week. I think that's someone who sees a long-term play and who, you know, regardless of when he works it out, he might have, you know, these dudes are busy. Like, I'm sure they've got lots to think about, and working out Bitcoin it's a you know, multi-year discipline, I would say, to really understand Bitcoin. It takes a long time to sink in, even for someone like Elon, like, who had already figured out PayPal and things like that. Like, he clearly, you know, was a busy guy, and if he's only just working out Bitcoin now, it just goes to show how in depth Bitcoin is and how difficult it is to wrap your head around it, even for really, really freaking intelligent people. It's a long haul, and to stick with it and not feel as though, you know, you've made the wrong decision through the ups and downs. It's a tough one, man. I commend anyone who can stick with it. Like, I mean, again, you know, Thomas, I really take my hat off to you, man, because you've been around and you've and I can appreciate why you would feel, you know, a little not resentful, but a little skeptical of someone like Michael Saylor, even though he does what he says. You could still feel a little skeptical of him because he joined the party so late. So I get that.
Well, and we're definitely giving him the chance. You know, haven't said anything, but it is interesting to see all the memes and all the other things, which usually you want to reserve for more like people that are actually with your group. They're just being given to these millionaires, but then they probably have teams of people to run their accounts as well. I saw Michael Saylor tweet this morning, and it was it had that kind of workshopped feeling. Like, yeah, we should have an inspirational quote with a picture of a sunrise and have Bitcoin. And yeah, that'd be a good thing to tweet. Yeah, as a team, good job, everyone. So we've got a couple of comments here from the YouTube chat. We want to keep them in here. Moonshine Fuel says, Bitcoin has been quite a ride. Silk Road, Mount Gox, 2017 Bcash revolution. LOL. I mean, you can see why the unknowing have some reservation. He's got a point there. And Rolando Tech also says, the rich didn't need Bitcoin until now, and now they're scared about losing their wealth. So maybe that's why they're into Bitcoin. Caterpie Butterfree says, like Tim Draper says, but what if it works? And Moonshine Fuel adds that it was always things around Bitcoin, not Bitcoin itself. It works great, always has. And that's the way I feel about it. I feel is even Coinbase is just a thing that built around Bitcoin. And we're about to watch Coinbase become $100 billion company, almost as big as Goldman Sachs, probably bigger than Goldman Sachs if the stock goes up before it goes down, before it goes up again, which is almost definitely going to happen. And it's going to be super exciting for everyone. But I think in the end, yeah, it's a huge company and it's valuable. So, but yeah, it's crazy to see that just thing that's built onto Bitcoin now, 100 billion. And at the same time, Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin doesn't care about Coinbase. It doesn't care about Coinbase's IPO. It doesn't care if it goes up or down and all those things. The network just keeps continuing. And I think that's what is important to know. And Bitcoin doesn't care, about Michael Saylor or Elon Musk or if I like them or not or whatever, right? Bitcoin is just cranking away, making those blocks.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I absolutely feel exactly the same, and that neutralness, that complete inclusiveness, and that complete, I would say, it's godlike what Bitcoin does. I mean, I get into the spiritual side of things, and I really love what Matt Kaiser says about Bitcoin, and even that, there's a potential that Bitcoin is some kind of spirit, maybe potentially if anything comes close to what God is, it could actually be Bitcoin to save humans from themselves, basically, because of just how beautifully designed this phenomenon is that is Bitcoin. And you're absolutely right in that no one needs to care about who gets involved in Bitcoin. No one needs to care about who doesn't get involved in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin doesn't care about any of it. It just does what it does. And the fact that my enemy, your enemy, the richest person in the world, the poorest person in the world, can all get involved is something the world has never seen. So I literally, and I get this from Michael Saylor in a way. He's a very intelligent dude, and I feel like he posts like that because he is religious about it in a way. And I know, Thomas, like there is a vibe of like the manufacturedness about it. Maybe that's just the world he comes from. Maybe that's the thousands of board meetings he's had, that he knows that this is what people respond to, and this is how I'm going to get my tribe around me to understand. So there may be loads of different reasons for that, but the videos I've seen of Michael Saylor and the way he interacts and the way he believes in Bitcoin is it's so meaningful, man. I really feel like he's an advocate for all the right reasons. So he talks about how he will never be selling his Bitcoin. He sees this as a once in a generation kind of an asset that is something for the future of he's of the future of mankind, the future of future generations, as far as humanity can even see into the future. He believes Bitcoin will be that future, and the way he emphasizes how important a technology Bitcoin is, it makes you feel incredibly empowered, man. I urge everyone to watch Michael Taylor speak about Bitcoin. Him and Robert Friedman as well. I mean, there's loads of, I mean, if anyone on here hasn't heard of the World Crypto Network with Mad Bitcoin, Thomas Hunt, please go and listen to all the podcasts, all the videos. It's definitely worth your time. Just from my perspective, anyway.
Oh, well, thank you, man. And going back to one of the things you said a little earlier about Bitcoin and the internet, David Bowie gave this great interview once where they were talking about the internet, and it was very early. And what Bowie said is that the internet was a new life form, and that it was an alien life form. And we didn't quite know how it was going to turn out. And certainly Bowie didn't know, but he was way ahead on that. And that's what I think about with Bitcoin. And that's why it does seem like a religious conversion for these people. And they have completely switched. And Andreas used to talk about his fugue state and how he did nothing but study Bitcoin for weeks and weeks. And he ignored his family, didn't eat, all these things. And it's great to see that happening and to have that keep going with Bitcoin because it is like the internet. It is an alien life form, a computer body. I've been watching WandaVision, like I think a lot of people have, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but one of the characters in the show is Vision, and he's like a cyborg, right? And there's this continual question whenever you bring in a cyborg like Data or whoever it's going to be, are they just a robot or do they have a soul? Like, is there something inside that robot? And I think with the Bitcoin and the internet, we're starting to understand that like soul of the internet. What does the internet give you? And somebody had written something recently or said like that the internet was the place where they could amplify their quiet voices. And that's why it was turning out so crazy because everyone's quiet voice has tons to say. And sometimes is very different than their normal loud voice. But what do you think, Roger? There you go.
Oh, that's incredible, Thomas. I mean, look, I felt a sense of living in Bitcoin quite recently, quite a lot now. I felt like it's very similar to the feeling of God, or a religious feeling, and actually, if you break it down, the fact that Bitcoin is the most, it's probably the most discoverable of market sentiment. Like the price discovery of Bitcoin is so intimate now. Like it's like there's virtually there's nothing kind of like, sure, there are big whales and there are people like Elon doing his thing, but the masses of people out there who are really discovering Bitcoin, I think, are really going to make the Bitcoin price discovery really true. And in that sense, Bitcoin will take on a life form of its own, because it will literally be a representation of people's of their. I mean, firstly, it's going to be an interpretation of people's sentiment, but their true nature in a way as well. And I really love this idea that I've talked about it. I mean, in other videos I've done as well, but the low time preference that Bitcoin provides to people, that encouragement that enables you to delay gratification and to really it really opposes the high time preference society that we're surrounded by. But when you have Bitcoin and you know that you're going to keep it for the long term, and you can see that price appreciating, that saver mentality of low time preference, that delay gratification, that is a cleansing thing. It's literally a purification of the soul. And I mean, alchemists spoke of the soul and the cleansing of the God, the philosopher's stone, which is the finding of the gold within yourself. Like, that purification of yourself is kind of like a rebirth in a way, and that purification is brought about by the low time preference, by the hodl mentality, and that is something, I believe, of a spiritual awakening for people, and it's brought about by Bitcoin, and it's a spiritual journey, I think, that is going to better humanity. It truly is. It's going to take this world into a positive. It's going to turn this world into a positive direction that the world has probably never experienced. I mean, the Renaissance 2.0 is talked about with Bitcoin for no small reason. I really feel like it's coming our way. I really do. I'm freaking excited.
I think the first part is, like you're saying, saving money and valuing what you're purchasing, and the way that savings changes people. What I was going to say, is conservation. The current world right now with the economy is really set up to grow, right? Every company needs to grow. The GDP needs to get bigger. We need to have a bigger company, bigger factories. We're covering the earth with cement. And this is a dangerous idea, right? Because it's the only earth we've got, right? Once it's covered with cement, we might have trouble getting rid of that cement. We might miss the plants, that kind of thing. On the other side of that, you have that conservationalist attitude where you're like, well, maybe we can get some more use out of this. Maybe we should, this metal was really hard to get. We had to dig it up from the earth. Someone had to smelt it and mine it and make it into this little piece. Maybe we should try to get some more use out of that. And I think what Roger's been saying here is that Bitcoin really, by teaching you savings, can drive you into that conservationalist mindset where, a lot of this talk in the Bitcoins about getting the Lambo or getting the, big bank account or whatever, you're going to buy a fancy mansion or something. And I really found, I used to work with corporate lawyers and fancy people, and they were just like the normal people I knew. They just had larger mortgages. They just had bigger car payments. Like, they had wonderful cars, they had wonderful houses and nice families and everything. But as far as, freedom wise, I didn't see them to be very more free than other people that I knew. And so one of the things that I think that over a long amount of time, because first part of it is like, saving money, not buying the extra Starbucks, like getting the coach ticket instead of the first class, whatever it is, all these kind of things adds up to a little bit of savings, and you can put it in the Bitcoin and change your mindset. But it also adds up in the other side too. What do you value with your time? What do you want to spend your time on? What do you want to work on? And at the other end, you have to think, well, now that Bitcoin's worth this and you're a millionaire or whatever, what do you do? What do you buy? And then that savings things kick back on you, and it says, well, buying a mansion or buying a Lambo is a stupid waste of Bitcoin. I've done all this scrimping and all this saving to get this Bitcoin. I want to spend it on something really good. And as a person that spent Bitcoin, and it's a bummer or whatever, and ups and downs. At the same time, some of the stuff that I bought with Bitcoin, and also I earned this Bitcoin with my work and such. I think it's okay to spend money you earn. But yeah, I bought some trips to Europe. I got to go to some cool museums. I got to meet a lot of the people that I talk to here on the internet in person, because, you know, I had to spend money.
Yeah.
And that was good. That was money well spent. I don't feel bad about that at all. I mean, some of the other stuff you feel bad on, and larger spends you feel bad on. But yeah, they're saying in the chat, Moonshine Fuel says, rent a Lambo, don't buy one. And the other thing is, when you rent the Lambo, what we're really talking about is the experience. If I rented a Lambo, I would go drive it fast somewhere, right? I would go around some curves. I would take some cool pictures of me with the Lambo. I'd show up at my friends' houses. You know, maybe we'd, you know, get some girls or whatever. We'd take cool pictures with the car, right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing you do if you owned it. You try to get the experience out of it. And that experience I'm describing is a very vapid and uninteresting experience. I think it would go away really quickly. I mean, I'm not a car guy. I don't really want to go fast. I don't really want to be low to the ground in a little cockpit thing. I like that I got I have like a nice big car or whatever now, and it has the big windows and it's up above the things, you know, and it's kind of nice. It's like a van, but it's an SUV, so it's a raised van or whatever. But yeah, I like the nice, comfortable big car. What I really want is that self-driving thing. But of course, I want it to work perfectly and all that, and I want it to work on my normal car. But yeah, what are you going to buy? What are you going to buy with your time? What is your freedom worth? And that's why for me, I've been once I got my time back, I've been buying musical instruments because they're inexpensive. If you get like, and again, I'm destroying the musical instrument industry. I'm buying cheap Chinese made instruments or whatever, but still for $100 on Amazon, you can get a guitar. And it's pretty fun, and you can get a lot of time out of messing with that guitar, and the same for like books and movies and things like this. I feel you get a good value for. But what do you think, Roger? What would you buy? What would you do with your time if you were Bitcoin millionaire or whatever, or even thousandaire? You don't need that much, is what I'm saying. But
great question. I actually think, Thomas, that's really the purpose of Bitcoin. The purpose of Bitcoin, or at least one of the lessons that may have been the real intention of Bitcoin, is to force you to ask yourself and to make you look in the mirror and say, what is it that you really value? What do you really value in this world? Because if it's money, mate, your values are really upside down, because money is a tool, right? Like, I mean, the beauty of Bitcoin is that it enables you to see what money really is, and it's essential for life, money. But the concept that, you know, you're going to be able to, you know, buy a Lambo, buy property, buy beautiful girls, whatever those things that you esteem as having huge value, or you know, value for somebody who supposedly is rich, that that's going to disappear if when you get them, because they're kind of like fireworks, right? Like, they go off and then bang, you know, they have this moment of joy where you're riding in the Lambo, or you're with some amazing girl, or you're, you know, you bought a magical yacht or whatever. But it's really like a firecracker. It lasts for about 5 minutes, and then it's pretty much gone. So Bitcoin makes you look at yourself and say, okay, after all of that honeymoon stuff is gone, what is it that you really value? And everyone is going to have a different answer. But like Thomas, like what you said, I'm a musician myself, and I teach music, and I discovered music a long time ago, and so it's my love, it's my absolute love, and Bitcoin is definitely a love affair as well, and I would actually call it a long-term love as well. But I shouldn't be talking about lovers on air. But the thing is that when love strikes, it's a powerful thing, and Bitcoin is love, But Bitcoin, I believe, it makes you look at yourself in a way that is really profound, and it really questions your idea of value. It questions your ideas of who you value in your life, what you value in your life, what your long-term goals are, what your short-term goals are, what your it makes you question your relationship, because like when you've got money, do you spend it on yourself? Do you spend it on your partner? Do you spend it on your family? Like these questions come into your mind, and they really force you to look at yourself so strongly. Like that's what I've discovered that money can do to people, is that it holds a mirror up to your life, and it really questions, like, what are you doing in this world? Who are you really helping in this world? How are you really benefiting this world? And that's such a strong thing. And just to mention another thing, I truly believe now, listening to people like Peter Schiff and Nura Rabini, and some of these Bitcoin bashers who feel so what's the word, insulted by Bitcoin. They feel insulted by Bitcoin, and that's, I believe, a representation of who they are as people. And I know that's a really strong thing to say. I haven't met Nura Rabini. I don't know who Peter Schiff really is. Maybe they're really genuine, amazing people down in the soul of themselves. And I truly hope they are. I truly do. Because if what I'm saying has any weight at all, and Bitcoin is a reflection of yourself, then people who bash on Bitcoin, they're kind of bashing on themselves. I mean, I know that's a big statement, and I wouldn't say that, to just anyone, but I feel like I can say that to people in this room and to you, Thomas, because maybe you've had a bit of experience in the Bitcoin scene, and maybe you can sort of see how it's changed people over time. I mean, there are so many, Max Kaiser calls them, calls it the Bitcoin derangement syndrome, and I kind of get that. I really get that. So, but to answer your question, Thomas, I'm buying musical instruments as well.
You're probably buying nice ones though. But no, I really like what you said, Roger, a lot about the music and the spirit and the purpose of Bitcoin. And for me, yeah, it all starts with getting my time back. Because for a long time, I worked a job, and it was a serious job, and I wanted to do a good job. And when I take a job, I work it hard and everything, so I was there for them. And I wasn't there for me or for anything else that I wanted to do. And that all kind of slipped to the side, and you just focus on that job. And sometimes it gets you what you want, or it doesn't. And, I got a down payment on a house. It's all right. We're moving forward with all that. But, it's better to have your time. And once you get your time, you really got to decide what to do with it. And that's what a lot of these people who are trading the stocks or whatever, I don't think they have the second half of it. They're not ready to go with something like music or writing or books or movies or travel or whatever it is that you like or somebody else likes. One thing I was thinking of when you're talking is that great new Disney Pixar movie, Soul. Everybody should check that out. And it's also about music, and it's also about life and everything and what you do. And he does come down to as well to helping people as being the thing that he did. He's also, ironically enough, he's also kind of a music teacher in the movie. And when he thinks back, it's not so much about getting into a big band or becoming a big star or whatever, because he had a couple shots at that. It was more about, the kid that he helped and the person who made a connection to music and then went on to study it or used it to get into college or something like that. So it is about the connections. And a lot of these people, I know there's a mania and a furor, and they're all into Bitcoin, and it's super exciting, but you got to think long term. Like, what would you do? And then you also start thinking about what they said in the great Jack Kerouac book that President Truman said, we must keep down the cost of expenses. once you've reduced your expenses and you're living cheaply and you're eating cheaply and but eat good. You want to eat real food, and it's difficult in the US, but you want to have reasonable goals and such. Once you've gotten that down, then you're free to really work on your projects, and you got to find out what your project's going to be. And even like I was saying with the music, I'm not good at guitar, and I do not want people to think that I play guitar. I practice guitar. I practice getting better at it. My hands are getting better. I can hear the notes when they're right, and I can hear when they're wrong. And music is like that. You can go out there and just experiment with it and practice. And for a couple $100, you can get a guitar or a keyboard or a piano or drum kit or whatever you want to get pounding away on, and you can start to learn it and have fun with it. Like I was thinking, when you said you're a music teacher and you're into music, I was like, oh, of course he's into music. Everyone's into music. It's the best thing, like that troll movie or whatever. It's like, of course, music. The space aliens in Star Trek are always into music. They're like, oh yeah, we've heard this, and Close Encounters, and they play the song. So we all have to find our connections back to that. And maybe right now, a lot of people are working, right? Or it's Sunday. Maybe people aren't working today, but they're listening to this at work and stuff like that, or listening to this when they're making some Uber rides or stuff. But you got to do that. But you got to do that for something. Like you're doing it for something. Like I'm paying lots of, you're paying lots of rent to live in a city for something. You're paying to live near a school, or paying to live near some kind of thing. So you've got to remember what the why is, right? Why you start. And you got a little religious, but I want to get a little self-help, because I really do think people can go back to their why and understand why they're doing a thing. And I'm quoting one of my favorite motivational videos here about Buster Douglas. And the guy says, Buster Douglas had a why. His mom said he was gonna beat Mike Tyson, and Buster Douglas overcame Mike Tyson because he wanted it more. And that's what you have to be after you get the money to free your time, or at least to attempt to free your time. It's not going to last forever, but 6 months off, 3 months off, that can be amazing if you previously had a week off at a time. So that's I think the way to go there. What do you think, Roger?
Yeah, it made me think of Dan and the Crypto Raptor, actually, because I don't know how he's doing, but he recently had a little son or a child, didn't he? I'm not sure, but
yep, yeah, he's got a little one running around. Yeah,
and I mean, everyone chooses their life, and maybe I will have children one day, maybe I won't, but I guess when you have a child, they kind of become your purpose. I've got a twin brother actually, and he's got two little girls, and they're his whole purpose. They're his whole reason for doing what he does, and that's a beautiful thing. I mean, music has always been my purpose, so I didn't need to go out and look for another one. And all of a sudden, Bitcoin, I've got to tell you, Thomas, like Bitcoin has become my purpose, because and music is kind of like the vessel. Like I always saw music as the vessel for what I wanted to say about the world. And so Bitcoin has come along, and suddenly it's become the information that I want to use my music to explain things with. And so now I have this, I always had the music, but now I have something really tangible to talk about with my music. It's an incredible feeling, man. Like I know you must feel like a potentially a prophet of some kind, but definitely you're on this pilgrimage. You're a Bitcoin OG. You're a Bitcoin advocate. You're a spokesperson for this movement in so many ways, man. And I really respect all the work you've done again. But
I agree with you with that you have something to write your songs about now, and that you're looking for that. And I know I always used to look at other, kind of oppressed groups, and certainly not for real, but in a certain way, you're like, I respect their passion so much. They have so much drive because they're oppressed. Like, I'm not necessarily oppressed, so I certainly am not taking that on as a banner. But in the same way, you didn't have a cause. And for a long time, I was into a negative cause where it was like something bad happened and I disagreed and we had a different view of what happened in the world. And it was always negative. It was always like the enemy is very big and we are very small. And when I saw Bitcoin, I was also studying Aikido at the time. And I thought a lot about kind of that judo throw where a small person can flip a big person. And the corporations were so big, and the Federal Reserve, all these things were so big. How could a small person or anyone affect that and flip them? And that's when I came to Aikido and using Bitcoin to try to flip them. So I think we go forward with that. And just as you wanted to make a song, I thought it would be fun to be a book in a library, and someone could pick me up the way that I pick up a Vonnegut book, and they could read it like a friend. And in the same way, these videos, and some of them and other ones maybe not, but a lot of them, maybe someday someone will pick up like a book on a virtual library, and they'll listen to me and think about the things that I thought and have their own thoughts and add them in new videos. YouTube used to do that, actually. It was kind of cool. You could do a video reply right there on YouTube, and I missed that. That was a cool feature. But they can make their own videos and have their own thoughts and think about Bitcoin. So it is kind of nice being a messiah, like they said in Network, an angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times. but there's also downsides to that, because he wasn't the most popular or the most famous or the most rich or whatever, but he got to be an angry prophet. And he said, why me? He said, because you're on television, dummy. So, I'll take it. I'll take it if I can get it, man. So.
I being in any position has its pros and cons. So the greatest people in the world, I'm sure, got there through their own suffering to get where they are. And I think it's really important to see how that where that journey comes from, and just to get back to writing songs about Bitcoin. I'm working hard at it day by day, and I write songs pretty slowly, but I've got my heart in the right place now, and I'm trying to understand this phenomenon of Bitcoin as much as I can, and I feel like, again, that's the reason I got into music, was to really express myself, but also I think as artists, which I believe we all are actually in some capacity, we are obliged to kind of hold up a mirror about what it is we see in the world, and hold up a mirror for ourselves, or to ourselves, and to the world as well. So it's really important to kind of project your truest feelings about the world as an artist, and that's really what being an artist is. It's all about conveying a feeling about the world. And so Bitcoin comes along, and all of a sudden I don't know, just in this world, in this whirlwind of information and possibilities. And I'm a humanitarian. Like, I feel like I've always wanted to try to do positive things in the world, in an active way. And I never understood why the world was so fucked up. And I never understood money. I never understood the politics around, the economical system we have, and why, some people are so screwed and other people are so, fucking giga millionaire, with their private yachts and shit. And that disparity always was such a conundrum for me. But all of a sudden, when I started to understand money, virtually everything falls into place. I know that's a big statement, but money is literally the reason. I know it's a big statement, but it's the reason why the world is so fucked up. And Bitcoin comes along and it literally blows every issue. Money touches everything, right? So positive, the positive force of money that Bitcoin is going to breathe positivity into the world in a way that is just unrecognizable. I don't think we're going to recognize the world in 10 years from now. It's just going to be, if Bitcoin even offers to do half of what it proposes to do, it's going to be a world that is going to be really exciting and really positive.
And you've got to go back. You've got to go back, Roger, and remember all the negative things and the causes of the current money. And by changing from that current money to the Bitcoin money, that's why we're going to get all these advantages. Because I agree with you. I went back as a historian. I studied history in college, and one of the things I really noticed was that it was all about power and money. And I kind of followed the path of power and I followed the path of money. And then at a certain point, I learned in the 1920s how they make money in the United States, like how they actually distribute it and value the money and make more of it and all that kind of thing. And that's where you really see how the system reinforces itself, and that the money is loaned out to buy the weapons destroy everything, and then the money is loaned out to rebuild everything, and then the money is loaned out for the weapons again, and then it just cycles. And that there's certain businesses and enterprises that throughout all of these negative and positive cycles of, we fought a war for religion, we fought a war because of a strong man, we fought a war because we didn't like a group of people, or all the different reasons that people have for fighting wars. At the end of it, there's all these great cleanup services that make tons of money, and all these lenders that make tons of money the whole time. So you have this kind of good old boys system where, keeping everything the same, all things being equal, they just keep benefiting. They just keep building more wealth and more power in these industries that are destructive and don't add anything to society. And now we've reached a point where, because of the limited and finite resources on our planet, that game can't keep going. If that game keeps going, it destroys everything. And that's, some of the horrific ideas, the big fear on this is stuff that, again, you don't want to quote this guy, but you see Alex Jones on Joe Rogan, and Alex Jones is telling us that there's a secret NASA and that the rich people are going to leave the planet. And publicly, Elon Musk is just saying the same thing. He just wants to go to Mars because he's curious. And, if you want to go to Mars after that, Elon's going to control your air. So good luck with that. But yeah, I worry about that idea, just the meme, just the attitude that we can wreck and leave this planet, and that's the insurance plan. And I think the other option here, and we got to go big with this, is that, Bitcoin, probably sent to us by space aliens. When we adopt Bitcoin, we can join the Federation because it shows that we've stopped focusing on this wasteful growth economy, and that everyone in the entire world has had this mind shift that you're talking about. They don't value just ridiculous wealth or whatever. They value, their time, their help to their community, their personal artistic goals, how they want their life to look in a positive way, not in a negative way, not in an exhausted, given up, cynical way, but in an actual true, think to yourself what the positive is. And if we can flip all that and switch to the Bitcoin, then we can join the Federation. Like, it's even better than Warp Drive. And meanwhile, at the other end of that are these people that are making their own space things. They're making their own escape plans that don't involve everyone else. And that's why I worry about some of this thought trending over into Bitcoin, because a lot of the libertarians are secretly anarchists, and a lot of the anarchists don't care if everyone else burns. And for me, you know, maybe I managed to get some kind of a, you know, honorary entrance into one of these citadels or something, and that's great. Like, I survived the cataclysm, but it's bad for everyone else in the street that is experiencing the cataclysm. So I think we need to do both, like have some cool Bitcoin cities and stuff, but at the same time, let's bring everybody else up. Let's not leave them behind. Let's not just go to another planet and forget about Earth. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's a scary prospect. I mean, the very idea of trying to survive on a completely uninhabitable planet, I think it's preposterous. You could literally give me the most precious thing in my life, or what I would see as the most precious thing in my life, and if you were to say, yeah, man, have whatever you want, but you have to live on Mars, you know, driving around in a spacesuit with limited air, with limited water, with limited resources. I don't know. That just doesn't seem like a lot of fun to me. I don't know if you saw the film. Was it Astra or the Brad Pitt film?
I was absolutely going to say Ad Astra. I was totally going to say
Ad
that.
Astra. Yeah. I mean, that really gave me a good sort of snapshot of what life would be like to go to Mars and to explore and then to have freaking militia on Mars. I mean, I don't know, man. What kind of world would that be? That just doesn't seem like a lot of fun. I give me, you know, a little plot of land in the backyard of I don't know, any kind of seaside country or wherever where, you know, it's pretty peaceful and pretty humble and not much going on. That sounds pretty good, actually, because I mean, living on the edge is fun for a time, but at the end of the day, we are human beings, and we definitely need certain things, and, you know, those being, you know, air, water, and food. And I don't know. Yeah, some of these rich dudes, maybe they just live in such a bubble. They think that they can literally just teleport themselves to anywhere in the universe and live a normal life. I mean, just the fact that we're not walking on the ground anymore a lot of the time. Like, our feet rarely touch the earth, and there's a vibration in the earth. I think it's 7 hertz or something. And if we don't feel that frequency often enough, or if we don't feel it at all for years and years, that can lead to serious health problems. So I mean, a lot of what we are as humans is directly related to the soil. It is just a part of us, and it's really important to recognize that, you know, we are not on the earth. We are from the earth. Like, we are of the earth. And I find it, I'd much rather explore the inside of me than the outside of the universe, really. But we're all different.
I think that's a key point there, Roger, that everyone should have the right and the freedom to explore the inside of them. And that a lot of people, because of their situation or their monetary or whatever, they don't have that freedom. They can't uncover like their joy of music or their joy of writing or whatever they might be good at that they can't reach. So maybe Bitcoin can empower that, and that maybe also that we can just because we value different things now, we can empower that. But yeah, I totally agree a lot with what you're saying about Elon and living alone on another planet. He's been kind of bragging about his plan to continue going after no ships come from Earth. He of course is assuming that Earth will be destroyed or handicapped in some way that it can't send any more ships, and that his little crew out there at Mars will be ready to survive. But the reality of ships, and like you're saying with Ad Astra, I watched that during the pandemic here. So it really struck home for me that I was like Brad Pitt. I'm alone on the spaceship. Like we've got this great little clubhouse. We've got some fun people hanging with us on YouTube in the chat, and maybe some of the other platforms too. But other than that, we are alone on our own little spaceships with this crazy pandemic around us. And it's the same thing as being in space. Going outside is like going outside of the airlock. Gravity forces, things can rip you apart. And when you watch a lot of sci-fi or you read a lot of sci-fi, I think you kind of get used to characters that are aware of that. Characters, like you said, that don't have their feet on the ground. Even the names of the characters, like I watched The Last Starfighter, or Luke Skywalker is what I was going for there. Skywalker, he walks on the sky. He flies spaceships. He's a farm boy, but he leaves the farm. He leaves the Earth. And I liked what you said about people coming from the Earth and the connection to the Earth. That reminded me a lot of what Vonnegut said in my favorite Vonnegut, Cat's Cradle. And he talks about how people came from mud, and that we are mud that got to stand up and look around for a while, and how fun that is. And I think a lot of times you get too much into the jobs and the egos and the wealth and the Lambos and whatever people want or they think they want. And you forget that we're just mud. And, we're happy to be mud, and we're happy to get up and get around. And there's other muds around us that we can chat with, and unfortunately spread virus too. So right now we're avoiding all the mud. But it's just, you have to have that internal strength to survive a long space voyage like this. To get to the victory condition of the vaccine. And then at the same time, just like you're saying, it's all about mindset and values, because we're going to be set loose on this world. All the things that I say that I miss, I'm going to get the chance to do or not do. I'm going to get the chance to make my own choices in the consumer world. I was driving around yesterday, and it didn't much matter if I was in Sacramento or Las Vegas. I don't go to any restaurants. I don't go to any shops. I don't browse anything. I certainly don't go to any casinos or anything, or any shows. Imagine a comedy show, sitting inside with a bunch of other people. That's a virus problem. You just can't do anything till you get this vaccine. And at the same time, all of our wishes are now in a big waiting list, and you got them all queued up. And in a way, it's like, if you got vaccinated tomorrow, and again, there's a lot of people don't like vaccines and it's science and all these things, but let's just assume it's fine and good, and you get vaccinated tomorrow. Now you can do anything you want again. But what are you going to do? Like the sad truth, I'm going to just stay home. I'm going to keep staying home, playing my computer. I'm going to add a couple things in here and there. Hopefully I can get to some shows or do some shopping or that kind of fun stuff I used to do. But really, you are who you are. And unless you really focus and make a big change and commit to it and do that kind of thing. But I think we're going to head towards the end of the show here, Roger. But if there's anything you'd like to plug, or where can people check out your work? And it was great chatting with you. I'd love to have you on again if we do a Clubhouse thing, or just one of the normal Bitcoin talk shows, because it's great to hang out and talk about some of these larger ideas. A lot of the chats here I find on Clubhouse, they're cool, and everyone gets into Bitcoin at different times, but it's just a lot of price chat. And I know people like it and it's money, but I'd rather talk about books and metaphysics and the value of Bitcoin and music and all these kind of things. But go ahead, Roger, tell us just a little bit if you want to talk for a little bit here. We'll go to that.
Yeah. Man, that's why when I first started watching World Crypto Network, I immediately knew. I think the very first one of the very first episodes I saw, and you picked up this book, and I can't even remember what the book was, but I just thought, damn, this guy's cool. Like he starts a podcast, a radio talk show, and he literally just quotes from one of his favorite books, and then you look up and you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't notice you were there, and I just thought, man, this guy, he's the deal. He's the deal. So I have always been into World Crypto Network, and of course the brilliant Bitcoin content is just it's unbeatable, man. So I I've always come. I think maybe because I was an artist before I was a Bitcoiner. I don't know. I just the price is the price, and it may well be the most important thing about Bitcoin, but it is really one aspect, and I truly believe that the macro, the interpersonal, the spiritual, the meaningful side of Bitcoin on a personal level is that is going to transform the world, like far more than people getting rich and buying Lambos. So it is really I think really obvious the direction Bitcoin is going in, and it's going to take some years before it really transforms people, but I do believe that day is going to come, and maybe people aren't even going to be aware of it. I don't know. I hope. I mean, I know it takes a lot to recognize these things, and when I'm sure if somebody just entered the room and heard us talking about maybe Bitcoin's come from aliens, they might sort of balk a bit and go, well, that's clearly just ridiculous. Firstly, I'm really just getting into this Bitcoin thing, and now you're going to tell me it comes from aliens. I mean, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'll see you later. I mean, it's a big leap. It's a big leap, right? But I mean, I don't know. I think the world is seriously going to be different in a couple. I would say, 5 to 10 years. I reckon there's going to be a completely new way of looking at the world, and it's going to have so much to do with Bitcoin, I think. So, yeah, if it just to say, I got my own YouTube, and I make Bitcoin videos there, YouTube channel. I've also got my music all up there. It's all under Roger 9000. 9,000, but I think the new 9,000 is probably 40K now, so it's above 40,000. So who knows? Like, man, I'm gonna keep. I feel so lucky that I caught you here, Thomas. So hopefully, I'm gonna catch you again, man.
Yeah, it's good hanging out, and send me some tweets about your videos. I can retweet them. We'll send them out to more people. So yeah, always good to do that, man, and share the love and try to get some viewers out there and stuff. But yeah, thanks to everybody at home for watching this. Give us a thumbs up and a share. I see about 25 thumbs up on YouTube. That's pretty good. Yeah, I think we're just gonna head towards the end here, though, Roger. So anything else you want to say? One more thing.
Are you live at the moment on YouTube?
I'm afraid we are.
Fantastic.
I don't. I hope you won't be upset or anything. I do try to tell everyone. Of course, it is a California law. You must inform people before you record them. So I do my best to make that clear. But no, yeah, we're definitely live. You can watch it back. It'll be a podcast later when it renders or something. It takes a while, but yeah, man. And we're just hanging out here. Getting some new people on Clubhouse, spreading the word. and got to go, take a break and walk the dog and stuff. But thanks so much to everybody for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow with Today in Bitcoin. So our big book today was Saturday Night Live by Tashin. It's a big, heavy book. So thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.